From Liberace and Johnny Cash to Bob Dylan and Chris Rock. Cubs over the Angels 5-1. Home run number 28 for Chris Bryant. Todd Frazier, a 3-run bomb in the 10th. And the White Sox were winners over Kansas City, 7-5 in 10 innings of work. And another Olympic medal for Winnetka swimmer and Loyola Academy grad Connor Dwyer in the 4x200-meter freestyle relay at the Rio Olympics. The news service of Burger King's breakfast. What's the best place to have your breakfast? How about on a warm croissant? Right now at Burger King, get 2 croissant breakfast sandwiches for just $4. A light, flaky croissant piled high with savory sausage or delicious thick-cut smoked bacon. 2 croissant, $4 only at Burger King. Price and participation vary. 5:04 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Dennis Prager has an interesting look at the presidential candidates.
Over time, he has somewhat metamorphosed in my mind. I'm at the tentative place right now wherein I regard him as a sheep in wolf's clothing, and I regard her as a wolf in wolf's clothing.
The Dennis Prager Show, weekdays at 11, right before Sean Hannity at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies.
I'm telling you right now, it's awesome. I was trying to get my blood pressure regulated, okay? And like after 3 days of taking this thing, my blood pressure went back down to normal. I am ecstatic. I am so happy with this stuff. It is my savior.
Well, I had back pain for the last 40 years. 4 days after I started taking this stuff, it's gone.
This was the first summer that I have not had to have a steroid shot to help me to breathe.
The reason why I'm taking it because I've got Hep C. Once I began taking your stuff, it took a few months, but believe it or not, my liver enzymes are way down and it's normal now. It works.
Call now to find out how to get your free month's supply of Balance of Nature. Call 800-2468-751. That's 800-2468-751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com.
Use promo code CHICAGO.
5:06 in our Guardian Security Services Traffic Center. In for Jim Talamonte this morning. Here's David Morrison. Good morning, David.
Good morning, Mike. We start off in Elgin. Starting today, work at the railroad crossing just west of the Fox River on Highland Avenue is scheduled to close Highland from Grove to Route 31 until Friday, August 19th. Pace is rerouting several buses because of it. Up on Lakeshore Drive, northbound Lakeshore Drive still has the 2 right lanes blocked off with overnight road work from Wacker to Grand Avenue. It's going to be there till about 6 a.m. We expect that road work to be there nightly until the end of the week. Slow-going traffic on the westbound Indiana Toll Road from just before US 421 to just before State Road 49. That ongoing construction should be cleared up within the next hour. Rest of the roadways are doing just fine. This report is sponsored by Amtrak. Great memories are made on trains, not in traffic. Experience travel the way it should be. Go from Chicago to Minneapolis for $54 with Amtrak Saver Fares. Book now at amtrak.com/saverfares. See where the train can take you. Restrictions apply. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm David Morrison on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer starts next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the aircomfort.com Weather Center, providing the right climate for business since 1935. Here is our meteorologist, Kevin Snyder.
Partial sunshine today with a high 91 and a partly cloudy night, low 73. Clouds and sun tomorrow with a high 92. Heat index values of 97 to 102. Then tomorrow night, a late night thunderstorm, low 76. I'm Kevin Snyder on AM 560. The Answer.
Updated temperatures, 70 at O'Hare, 77 along the lakefront, 67 in Aurora. Your next news update is at 5:30, and Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy starts now on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Get Down to Business with Shalom Klein, the show for business and jobs powered by Tandem HR. Heard Sunday evenings at 6.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Well, Your
Well,
guy, 2024 will be here before we know it, Amy.
May of 2024, yes.
Yeah.
It's a possibility he might get out in 2023 if, he takes this alcohol abuse course. That's a lot of the federal prisoners.
I hope that
federal
doesn't-
inmates do that. They get a year and a half knocked off their sentence.
I hope that doesn't interfere with his band practice schedule.
Well, there's some bad news about the band. Late in the show yesterday, I brought you the breaking news. The lead guitarist in his Jailhouse Rock band was released suddenly from prison. So he plays the bass, Rod does, and he sings a little bit, and he's learning how to play lead guitar. But right now they have an opening for a lead guitarist in the Jailhouse Rock Elvis Presley cover band, where they do have 21 songs that they play.
Yeah.
But yeah, yesterday was
Jailhouse Rock, indeed.
Yesterday was devastating. I have to tell you.
It's fascinating. The vicarious thrill, or the kind of the vicarious connection you have to a imprisoned former governor. It's bizarre to me.
No, I'm a Blago sympathizer, and I think it's because I've spent so much time in courtrooms covering such things as arson, attempted murder, involuntary manslaughter, and a lot of those people, those prisoners, those criminals have received a harsher sentence than Rod Blagojevich. The sad thing is when Judge Zagel decided to keep the sentence as it was, 2-year supervision afterwards, blah, 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 community service, he stood up and you could hear Amy and Annie bawling. They were wailing. Patty was strong. She remained strong, and she was hugging them, and Deborah Mell was there, her sister. And Blago stood up, and all of a sudden he just started crying. And it was really sad. And then all of a sudden it hit him, and he paced around his chair that he had been sitting in, and then he put his hands behind his back as if for the prison guard to take him.
This was by video because he wasn't actually
link.
physically in the courtroom.
Right, but if you were in the courtroom, the video link was really bumpy and hazy, and even Judge Zagel said, if you want a clearer picture, go to the overflow room. I went to the overflow room.
You were in the courtroom.
Oh, yeah, but I left and went to the overflow room, and then after the hearing, I sat in front of the courtroom waiting for Patty and Amy and Deb to walk out.
Has Dick Mell made you an unofficial member of the Mell Blagojevich family?
No, he hasn't. But no, Dick Mell wasn't even there yesterday, which I thought was. I thought that he might show up.
Well, like everybody else, he doesn't like Blagojevich.
But after everything ended, and I was waiting for them to come out, and I heard some noises, and there was one other reporter there because everybody else was down in the pit waiting for them to come down. Rod, they had allowed, Judge Zagel had left, and they had allowed Rod to speak with Amy and Annie. And he said, it's going to be okay. I'm going to be strong. I love you girls. You did such a wonderful job. And then they cut the video link because Rod could see them speaking when they delivered their, speeches. He could see them. And Amy plowed through. She was really quick. But Annie was really, really poised and just, it really pulled at your heartstrings when Annie spoke.
Not Judge Zagel's heartstrings. Didn't pull at Judge Zagel's heartstrings.
But he said that he feels for him. Exactly. Hold on. I have my Twitter because I was tweeting during the whole proceeding. And at first I thought Judge Zagel was going to reduce his sentence. And then I thought he was going to add more time. And then I thought he was going to reduce it. And in the end, he kept it just the way that it was. 14 years in prison with 2 years supervision after that.
Right.
But he did sympathize. He said he felt for the kids, being away from their father. But Annie, what she said, my dad, they do homework by phone because he calls them every night and he helps with this history. And he also helps her when she has fights with her sister. So your sign over there, I'm sure you would have been just like Judge Zagel and kept the sentence as it is.
Yeah, I would, because that's the sentence that was imposed at the outset, and there's nothing really. The 5 felony convictions that were set aside by an appellate court, still 13 underlying felony convictions, and there is no substantive reason to change the sentence, really. But I think, it would have been better if he had gone with the, kind of question of rehabilitation. Mm-hmm. If he would have said something like, I know what you think it means, Sonny. To me, it's just a made-up word, a politician's word, so that young fellas like yourself can wear a suit and a tie and have a job. What do you really want to know? Am I sorry for what I did? There's not a day goes by I don't regret, not because I'm here, because you think I should look back on the way I was then, a young, stupid kid who committed that terrible crime. I want to talk to him. I want to try and talk to Spencer and tell him the way things are, but I can't. That kid's long gone, and this old man is all that's left, and I got to live with that.
Okay, right.
If he would have done something like that, perhaps Zagel would have stamped the parole sheet.
Well, he never admitted he committed a crime. That's what Zagel kept insisting. And while he said he's sorry, he didn't admit wrongdoing. But here's the bottom line. Would that have made a difference anyway? I really think that Judge Zagel had his mind made up before he even entered that courtroom because he had the letters from the inmates. He had the letter from Patty.
Letter from an inmate.
Well, the inmates,
it's real persuasive.
No, 150 inmates wrote letters on Rod Blagojevich's behalf.
Great character references. How many Illinois politicians were in those 150 letters?
Well, only 4 of our last 10 governors have been sent to prison. But Judge Zagel even said these letters, these inmates know you now, but they don't know you when you were governor and what you were capable of doing. And that was a little bit of slap on the wrist, too.
Wow, yeah. They don't know you now. Boy, I'll tell you what.
They know you now. They don't know what you were like when you were governor of Illinois. They just know you now as Rod Blagojevich, who's helping them out.
Oh, I see. Yeah, right. Well, exactly. Yes, that's why inmate letters, your colleagues in prison, are not going to be terribly persuasive.
But Patty was not happy. Of course, she came down and spoke to the media.
We find his sentence unusually cruel and heartless and unfair.
Mm-hmm. Unusually cruel, heartless, and she went on to say she was flabbergasted too.
Yes, right, because they are used to the Chicago political culture where you're not really held accountable for the things you do, and the other people aren't held accountable. So why should we be held accountable? That's the situationally ethical response that you get from the likes of the Blagojevich and these other political crime families that have lorded over the state for so many generations. I have, again, empathy for the daughters. They're victims of their father's wrongdoing, but their father did wrong, and he has to pay the penalty for what he did. And let's remember what justice is. There's 2 components to justice. One is restorative. Have I been reformed?
I think he's been reformed, don't you?
No. And the other is retributive. You're imposing a punishment. There's a punitive element to justice for the crime committed as a message that we as a free society and a civil society will not tolerate this kind of conduct. And lest we forget the context of Blagojevich's tenure as governor, it came on the heels of George Ryan. And it came on the heels of decades upon decades of politicians from the city level to the state level going to prison for being in perpetual shakedown mode. And at the time, Rod Blagojevich raised the ante on the shakedown mode that politicians in this state have been in for those many generations.
And Judge Zagel did reference that.
And so he got a penalty that was stiffer than George Ryan's.
Well, Judge Zagel pointed out that Rod Blagojevich lied to the FBI, and he said that you ran on a platform to restore integrity to the governor's office, and you did the opposite. So he pointed that out. But Sam Adams Jr., our good friend, he was a little unhinged after the verdict or the resentencing.
What are we telling our people? What are we telling our children? This man gets 14 years for not getting one dime of political corruption money. Is that really worth it? Is that what we're really supposed to expect out of our society?
Yeah, it is, Sam. I mean, Sam is an entertaining guy and is a colorful defense attorney.
Maybe mayor.
Run for mayor. Yeah, good luck with that. On the the lawlessness and disorder platform, good luck with that mayoral run, Sam. I know he wants to be a politician. He contemplated running for Jesse Jackson's old congressional seat as well. Good luck with those kind of statements about political corruption in this state. This whole he didn't make a dime is a big lie. There was
all politicians have to campaign.
There was unjust enrichment. When you shake someone down, you can shake someone down to extort them to put money in your pocket, or in the case of Blagojevich, you can shake them down to put money in your campaign fund, which is an indirect way to put money in your pocket because money in your campaign fund provides influence, number one. It's the means to get reelected, number two, and it's the means for what? Your salary and all the other benefits that accompany being the chief executive of the 5th largest state in the nation. So don't give me this line of bull jive, Sam Adams Jr., that there was no unjust enrichment. There absolutely was.
Well, what about Jesse Jackson Jr.?
What about him?
Well, everyone kept saying there's a great disparity of equal justice in this country and pointed to Jesse Jackson Jr., who served only 15 months in prison, and he actually had cash exchange hands. He actually and his people offered to buy that Senate seat Barack Obama Senate seat from Blagojevich.
Yeah. So here, this is just. I mean, this line of logic is baffling.
Well, help me.
So Jesse Jackson Jr. was not indicted for trying to sell this, trying to buy the U.S. Senate seat.
Right.
He was indicted for misuse of campaign funds, conversion to personal use, another form of unjust enrichment. So that's what he was indicted and convicted for, and he's a convicted felon, and he should be. He was a, most of these guys, what we're talking about, their actual policy decisions have a much more negative impact on people's lives than these crimes that they are ultimately convicted of. It wasn't Ross Stankowski stealing stamps from the House Post Office. It was everything he did as Ways and Means chairman that he should have been sent to prison for. But yes, you can talk about why didn't Pat, and I've done this for years, why didn't Patrick Fitzgerald, the U.S. Attorney's Office, had surveillance on Blagojevich, which they did? Why not get buyer and seller just like a drug deal? If you know this guy is selling, then why not get the buyer too and pick them all up at the same time? I have not yet to get a satisfactory answer from the U.S. Attorney's Office or anyone associated with the prosecution to that question. So it's a fair question. And Jesse Jackson is a criminal as well.
And FBI knew that Jesse Jackson was ready to buy that Senate seat.
He's the governor.
Mm-hmm.
There is, if you want to kind of go up the food chain, if you want to compare this to a crime family or a drug cartel, the kingpin is who they're after. The kingpin gets the biggest sentence because the kingpin is the one directing the whole operation. And who is the kingpin in this case? The governor. And on the north side, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Oh, yeah, good morning. I'm really surprised, Dan, because it's a cruel and inhumane sentence. They put him in. The gang put him in. There's corruption. Who's it saving from corruption? Illinois, Chicago. I mean, and Rustin.
I don't know. I don't know what that means, Ann. So what would be a humane sentence? What's the magic number that makes this from inhumane to humane?
Well, I don't know.
Right.
Why do they? Well, they should just tell him, no, we're not going to give you any lighter sentence, and don't have any hope, because then he wouldn't have expected it, and he wouldn't have such a disappointment.
Well, that's
the defense was asking for 5 years.
Thanks for the call, Ann. He didn't have to pursue a lighter sentence. He didn't have to do that.
But it was an option.
Well, I know, but she's saying
they have no hope. Well, it's over.
Well, I mean, the kind of rallying to the defense of this guy, gosh, people have short memories and love the self-inflicted wound. I guess this is
maybe we just all feel for the kids because it's
is the
stupid
home of
for
the
our tax dollars
wound.
to be putting him up in a medium security prison.
Yeah. Well, do you feel sorry for the kids of every other convicted felon rotting away in prison?
Yeah, actually, I do.
So they should all be let out then?
No, but they've all written letters, and sometimes sentences have been reduced because of the family's compassion and love for that inmate. And it didn't happen in this case because Judge Zagel was afraid to do the right thing and reduce his sentence, even by 2 years, which most people predicted would happen.
This is the kind of sentimentality, what we're hearing from the Blagojevich sympathizers, that is literally undermining our free society. Ed in Oakbrook, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, Dan, I have no love for any of the Blagojeviches, and I really don't care what happens to them, but in light of the Clintons, how they just let them walk, and they did let them walk, I would have let the Blagojevich go. And
I don't understand that. I do not understand this.
It's not understandable. It's just that the way it is. She gets to walk free for all of the crimes to society that she has done. The FBI just folded underneath her.
Yeah,
and now you want to put this guy in jail for long. Where is the threat to society from Blagojevich? He's a busted, broken man.
Thanks for the call,
President Obama just commuted the sentences of nonviolent offenders. Wouldn't Blago fit in that category?
Was George Ryan a nonviolent offender?
Well, no, because I think that he was tied to the Willis family death. So,
right.
Yeah, no.
But he didn't commit that crime.
Yeah, but he allowed somebody to get a CDL to commit that, not commit the crime, but by accidentally commit the crime.
He wasn't a direct co-conspirator. What did he do? He created a culture that set in motion the chain of events that allowed that driver to get a CDL license illegally, and that put him on the road, that resulted in the death of 6 Willis children. You set in motion a culture where people's lives are destroyed, and we're supposed to be cavalier about it. And stop with this argument, everybody, because I'm not going to tolerate it. This argument, I just am not. This is insane. Think through the logic of this. Because somebody else got off that you think should be prosecuted, and I think Hillary Clinton should be prosecuted. that means we should open all the jail doors. Because Hillary wasn't prosecuted, so let Blagojevich go. Mike Madigan hasn't been prosecuted, so let Blagojevich go. What kind of logic is that?
Jesse Jackson spent 15 months in jail. Let Rod Blagojevich go. I know it's mind-numbing, but...
Dan in New Lenox. Hey, Dan. Dan in New Lenox.
Yeah, so I think that trying to compare this incident to any other criminal conviction is just patently absurd, because we'll never have any justice if you always try this fallacious arguments that, because this person didn't have proper justice, we can't sentence this person. That's fallacious. It's nonsensical. It is absurd. He deserves the sentence that he gets because his crime affects our entire state. And it quite possibly has led to more violent crimes from other people because of the policies instituted from that corruption. So these offenders that are, quote, nonviolent, just because their conviction is for a nonviolent crime doesn't mean that their crime hasn't led to other people committing violent crimes due to their actions.
Thank you for sanity, Dan.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Also, Dan, I had to refrain from taking a picture of Rod sitting there because he looked like he was wearing a garage mechanic outfit, and his hair, it looked Trump-esque, as if it was white cotton candy on top. I mean, every artist rendition you see is not, I can't tell you that is not what it was like. It was a huge cotton candy thing on his head.
And then a lot of people don't know this, too. His band in prison is like a Kiss cover band. So he has the face paint on.
Exactly. Here's your forecast for today. Another hot and humid one, folks. High of 90 degrees tonight. It's still going to be warm, lows in the 70s. And tomorrow, the heat and humidity continues with some clouds and sunshine, a high again in the 90s. Let's get the travel times and say good morning to Dave Morrison, who's in for Jim Telemonte.
Good morning, Amy. Everything's still doing fine on pretty much all the area expressways and tollways. We start off in Elgin. Starting today, work at the railroad crossing just west of the Fox River, scheduled to close Highland from Grove to Route 31 until Friday, August 19th. There is a posted detour for that. Everything's doing fine on both sides of the Edens. It's 19 between Lake Cook and the Junction. Kennedy's fine. It's 20 minutes between the airport and downtown. Ike's clocking in at 29 either way between Thorndale and the old post office. 55 and Stevenson are clear. Dan Ryan outbound 15 minutes out to 95th Street. The reverse commute takes 15 back into downtown. Skyway, I-57 and the Ford are doing fine. Lakeshore Drive and Route 390 tollway are clear. All 4 Illinois tollways are doing just fine, and everything's clear in and out of Northwest Indiana. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm David Morrison on AM 560, The Answer.
On AM 560, The Answer, we talk about the important issues that affect your world. Things like the economy, education, and foreign policy. There's always so much going on in the news that we don't always have the time to focus in and talk about the big ideas behind the important issues. Enter Upstream Ideas online at upstream-ideas.com. Upstream Ideas, in partnership with the Illinois Policy Institute, provides the kind of information that informs the policy discussions happening here on AM 560. At Upstream Ideas, you'll broaden the debate, move beyond partisan assumptions, and challenge accepted beliefs. Upstream Ideas goes against the current and thinks upstream. Go online now at upstream-ideas.com. That's upstream-ideas.com. You'll be armed with new information and fresh perspectives to help encourage you to make the state of Illinois and the United States of America a bit freer, a bit more just, and a bit more civilized. Upstream-ideas.com.
I am so glad I did it. I'm just mad at myself for waiting so long. Hi, Amy Jacobson here for CertaPro Painters. You know, our front porch had chipping and peeling. It looked old and run down, but thanks to CertaPro Painters, it looks brand new again. And trust me, my neighbors are happy I did it. And you know, it's not too late to book that painting project. But don't wait. Be sure to get on CertaPro Painters' summer painting schedule today. Call 800-GO-CERTA or visit CertaPro.com. That's Certa with a C. You know, CertaPro Painters will work around your busy schedule to get your home looking picture perfect for all your summer entertaining. That's why CertaPro Painters says we do painting, you do life. Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated. Whether it's residential or commercial, interior or exterior, it's not too late to get that painting project off your to-do list. Call now. 1-800-GO-CERTA, 1-800-GOCERTA, or visit CERTAPro.com today.
Looking for an employment position or a career change in McHenry or Kane County? Contact Express Employment Professionals, 815-788-8556.
This is Terry Greeno. My company is Express Employment Professionals. If you want to get a new position in McHenry or Kane County, we are your connection. We did it 425,000 times last year. We are the go-to company for employment. Make a change and get a position that is rewarding and fulfilling. We know the companies in this area, and we know how to match you with a position
right
that's a
now,
good fit for you. It's simple. We
Blagojevich
put great companies
is
and great people
as if
together. We
he had
have the
asked
companies,
for,
now we need you.
envelope stuffed
Contact
with
us.
cash.
Get more information at expresshires.com.
Contact the
And
go-to
they obviously
company,
love their
the one that
father.
specializes in
I'm,
employment
very,
positions in
very
McHenry and
saddened
Kane County. Contact Express Employment Professionals.
The bad hand that they've been dealt.
815-788-8556.
I'm so proud of my daughters.
815-788-8556.
They didn't have to say anything. It's clear that it didn't make any difference what they said. They could have delivered it Broadway style.
On the power being on 24/7. It's the lifeblood of your data and computer systems. Weather-related outages from the power company are not acceptable. Your need for a source of power that's reliable 24/7, along with round-the-clock service that can dispatch technicians to your site immediately, is mission critical. Your business needs Charles Equipment Energy Systems on speed dial. These are the big boys, not residential or solar, but reliable industrial generators for emergency backup or events. When you need more than a 100-foot extension cord plugged into a small engine generator, call Charles Equipment Energy Systems. They keep the lights on with rental generators for job sites or power outages. They'll also keep you cool this summer with temporary air conditioners for any situation, big or small. Call 630-834-6000. That's 630-834-6000 or charlesequipment.com. charlesequipment.com. Reserve now for summer festival season.
There's so many families in the Chicagoland area that cannot afford regular dental care. We take for granted our regular routine cleanings, but for many children and families, it's an added expense that's not in the budget. Yet oral health care impacts self-esteem and the ability to work, which is why the Chicago Dental Society Foundation Clinic is committed to improving the oral health in our communities. I'm Lauren Feldner, speaking to you on behalf of the caring dentists of the Chicago Dental Society, who have addressed this issue by providing free basic dental services at the Chicago Dental Society Foundation Clinic, which is located in DuPage County. At this clinic, we treat and educate patients and their families for free. We help them experience good oral health care. Our clinic is staffed with all volunteer dentists who depend on the generous support of donors to provide these services to Cook, Lake, and DuPage counties. Please help keep our free dental clinic open. Donations can be made at cdsfound.org. That's cdsfound.org. On behalf of the dentists of the Chicago Dental Society, thank you for your support.
AM 560, The Answer.
Yeah.
You know, if the girls would have done their speeches like putting on the Ritz style, then I would probably have knocked off 6 months.
We'll get to that later because that was an option possibly for the Blagojevich girls.
Closing thought on the Blagojevich matter. For text from 312. Illinoisans crack me up. They pretend moaning about graft and corruption. Finally, someone breaks the public trust and gets the book thrown at him, and all we hear is complaining about the penalty. Amazing. Truly amazing.
Sorry, they got to my heart. Now let's get to the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
Amy and Dan, good morning. 74 degrees. Delta Airlines still in recovery mode from a power outage Monday that led to canceled flights around the world. 90 more cancellations expected this morning. Carrier canceled 775 flights yesterday. Peaceful demonstration in Ferguson, Missouri ends in violence when a car sped through a group of protesters, striking and injuring one man. Bullets then flew. Right now, officials say there's no evidence anyone was shot. There could be 2 more days of flooded streets and water rescues in Tucson, Arizona. The Southwest seeing another round of storms associated with Tropical Storm Javier. Justice Department report released later today following a year-long investigation into the Baltimore police force. The report says officers routinely discriminated against blacks and made large numbers of stops in mostly poor neighborhoods. A wildfire burning in Southern California's rugged San Bernardino Mountains has grown to more than 12 square miles. It is just 6% contained. Team USA impressive in Rio again. Michael Phelps swimming his way to his 21st career Olympic gold, and the USA women's gymnastics team brings home their second consecutive gold medal in the team competition. Meantime, there are reports this morning that an Olympic media bus in Rio was hit by gunfire, leaving passengers injured and bleeding. Democrats accusing Donald Trump of openly encouraging violence against his rival Hillary Clinton. Democratic vice presidential nominee Tim Kaine says he couldn't believe what he heard from Trump.
I really, frankly, couldn't believe he said it. And so I went to watch the video of it and found that he had said it exactly the way it was printed.
However, Trump told Fox News he wasn't encouraging any kind of violence.
There can be no other interpretation. Even reporters have told me, give me a break. But they're dishonest people.
Hillary Clinton continuing her campaign swing in Florida, calling for more funding to fight the Zika virus.
I am very disappointed that the Congress went on recess before actually agreeing on what they would do to put the resources into this fight.
However, hundreds of millions of dollars of resources have already been poured into Zika funding by Congress. Much of that money approved. Some of that money has already been spent. Lawyer for former Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich says now that a judge has declined to lighten his 14-year prison sentence, he may appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. Illinois state bird is now being commemorated on a postage stamp. Postal Service says the northern cardinal is one of the birds featured in the new Songbirds in the Snow stamps. For those who've not passed the State of Illinois Constitution test or have forgotten, Illinois school kids chose the cardinal as the state bird in 1928. Cubs over the L.A. Angels 5-1, while the White Sox beat Kansas City 7-5 and 10. The news service of Burger King's breakfast. What's the best place to have your breakfast? How about on a warm croissant? Right now at Burger King, get 2 Croissant breakfast sandwiches for just $4. A light, flaky croissant piled high with savory sausage or thick, delicious smoke-cut bacon. 2 Croissant, $4, only at Burger King. Price and participation vary. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
The Sean Hannity Show.
You know, things are so bad, and I know everyone's all focused on Mr. Khan, but Donald Trump was not talking about the Khan family. This is a non-issue. So every time CNN and MSNBC and their abusively biased coverage of Donald Trump comes up, just remember what I told you. And remember what I said in 2007 and 2008. Journalism in America is dead. It's dead and buried.
The Sean Hannity Show. Afternoons at 2, right before Joe Walsh at 5 on AM 560. The Answer.
Go to BuffaloWildWings.com to reserve your draft party at one of their locations. B-Dubs caters to your needs as a fantasy football fanatic. Buffalo Wild Wings. Wings, beer, sports.
Hey, you've heard how Automated Systems excels at assisting companies with systems integration and FDA compliance. But they're also a staffing leader. They supply handpicked elite leadership, subject matter experts, and proven technical professionals in engineering, quality control, and FDA compliance to support the life sciences field in executing mission-critical projects. ASI provides highly specialized pros to deliver projects on time and budget. Don't pay a lot more to a big consulting firm, and don't trust the big temp agencies to supply the talent you need. Call Laz, my friend Laz at Automated Systems, when failure isn't an option. ASI is retained by all of Chicagoland's Fortune 500 life sciences companies, from big pharma to startups, and excel through a culture of excellence in execution. For a staffing, compliance, or automation evaluation, call Laz now at Automated Systems at 844-HIRE-ASI or visit AutomatedSYS.com. That's 844-HIRE-ASI or AutomatedSYS.com.
537 in our Guardian Security Services Traffic Center. In for Jim, here is David Morrison.
Thanks very much, Mike. We start off on the Edens, where inbound the exit ramp to Cicero right now blocked off because of a motorcycle accident. Crews are there with it right now, but no delays on the main line just yet. The inbound Stevenson building some volume between Central and Pulaski. It's 26 minutes from the Tri-State up to Lakeshore Drive. Dan Ryan outbound 15 minutes. Inbound is 20. Spotty delays the entire stretch as that starts to fill in. The inbound Ford is heavy from 111th to the Ryan Expressway. 89 I-94 to the Ryan is 21 minutes. All 4 of our Illinois tollways are doing fine. Lakeshore Drive is clear, so is the Route 390 tollway, and light traffic volume in and out of northwest Indiana. This traffic report is sponsored by Amtrak. Great memories are made on trains, not in traffic. Experience travel the way it should be. Go from Chicago to Denver for $94 with Amtrak Saver Fares. Book now at amtrak.com/saverfares. See where the train can take you. Restrictions apply. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm David Morrison on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the aircomfort.com Weather Center. Partly sunny today. Hot and humid, a high of 90. Tomorrow, heat index values will touch the 100 mark, even more hot and humid as we travel towards Friday, where we have clouds and sun with a couple of thunderstorms in the forecast. 70 at O'Hare. Next news at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Military Mortgage Talk with host Tony Gatliff. Sunday mornings at 9 on AM 560, The Answer.
Hey, Joe Walsh here. Listen to Freedom any time of any day. Go to walshfreedom.com/podcast. Freedom returns at 5.
Can I say one more thing about Blago? I'm really hoping that President Obama pardons him before he leaves office.
It's just crazy.
But you know why? President Obama has 2 daughters, Rod Blagojevich, 2 daughters, and they spoke so eloquently and from the heart yesterday during his resentencing hearing that I'm hoping President Obama listened.
Hey, look.
And he commuted the sentence again of nonviolent offenders, so Blago could fit in that category, right?
Sure. Anybody can fit in any category in modern-day America. I'll tell you what, anybody out there, you're in prison or your dad's in prison and you got 2 articulate daughters, make the case to the president because that's the standard that's set for being released from prison.
14
articulate
years is
daughters,
excessive.
Yeah. All right, one more call on this. Oh, my gosh. Phil on the northwest side.
Yeah, good morning, Ann and Damie. I got to tell you that I don't like Blagojevich. I don't like his personality, and he should be in prison just for the amount of money he spent on his wardrobe. But, when you look at this, the people who put him there, honestly, they're in many ways more guilty than he is. If they wanted him out, he'd be out. And when you look at the people that are being pardoned by Obama and everybody else, the whole thing is so dirty and so corrupt. Everything's pay to play, and the millions and millions and millions we sell in drugs every day in this city. This is a joke, and he should get a reduced sentence because you know something. I don't like the guy. I don't agree with what he's done, but the problem is when you are in that circle. This is why your audience feels this way because when you're in that circle and everybody knows what that circle's produced, the rest of the circle should be in prison as well.
Yeah, I mean that was learned behavior by his father-in-law, probably.
Oh, now he's thanks for the call, Phil. Yeah, now he's not responsible for his actions.
No, he's responsible for his action, but I'm saying that was learned behavior. Someone showed him how to be corrupt.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's.
But I thought he was contrite yesterday during his 8-minute speech, or comment to Judge Zagel, and I would have. I don't know what Judge Zagel was saying, that he never admitted to committing a crime.
You would reinstall him in the governor's mansion.
Well, at first I'd work on that cotton candy hair of his.
Well, the good news is for that Elvis cover band in Littleton, Colorado, you're not losing your lead singer.
Okay, yeah.
So there's silver lining here.
Yeah.
So you want to focus on the positive.
But the inmate said, I know.
Okay. All right. Seriously.
The inmates all wrote in their
are running
letter,
this asylum, too.
The inmate said that he is a humble man now. Oh. He's not.
Yeah. You can't even get that out with a straight face. It's just so, this whole thing is so preposterous.
He's a changed man.
Yeah, he only combs his hair
anymore.
6 times a day now.
They only call him the Gov. That's his name around prison.
Yeah.
The Gov. Can we come back to this
We'll
subject?
miss you, Gov. We're going to pick this up in 2023 on the cusp of his release. So you'll want to mark your calendars accordingly. In 7 short years, we're going to be right back here talking about Governor Blagojevich's release and ascension into the halls of power again.
312-642-5600. 312-642-5600.
This is like a virus.
No, I know it's going to spread because people are upset. I'm telling you, there are people outside protesting "Free Rod Now" signs.
Text from
want him out.
Text from 708. We now live in a world where jail is cruel and unusual punishment. Yes. for a crime committed, and that we have flaws in the justice system and people get away with things they shouldn't. So the remedy is for everyone to get away with it. Okay.
8 more years in prison. Come on.
Marie in Algonquin, you're on Chicago.
Yes, good morning. Well, I have a somewhat different perspective. First of all, I have no leanings whatsoever towards the Democrat Party. I've been a Republican voter for it'll be 60 years this November.
Good for
Voted
you.
in
All
my
right.
first election back in 1956 as a Republican. But I do think the judge should have given Rod Blagojevich a reduced sentence simply because of the proportionality. I mean, I realize what he had done was horrific, horrendous, all that kind of stuff, but he doesn't pose any threat, I don't believe, to anybody now. In contrast to the terrible actions and inactions that Hillary has taken, and she is going scot-free and wants to be rewarded. I mean, not just for Benghazi, not just for the whole email thing, but she put our whole nation at risk.
No, I got it. Thanks for the call, Marie, and thank you for voting for Republican. Please continue to do so. I've completely lost control of the show. Cassandra in Montrose Beach.
Because we have Broadway.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Cassandra here on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hi, I know you're frustrated with this, but this is my problem, and you have to help me get over the hump because it all seems like a shakedown. It doesn't matter if it's Blagojevich or the regulators and the whole apparatus and the politicians going after Uber so that instead of 10% of a driver's take, they're taking 25 because Uber's got to pay all these other people off. It all, let's tax this, let's tax that. So people show up with the campaign contributions and the lobbyists. To me, I'm having real trouble with, and proportionality too. I'm sure that's been mentioned. There are people who do very, very, very bad things that serve less time.
Mm-hmm.
But really, my big deal is what really is the difference? It's all a shakedown.
Thanks for the call, Cassandra. So let me try once again. Two component parts of justice. One is restorative, like this idea he doesn't pose a threat to society. That's part of it. The other is retributive, punitive, punishing a person for the act they did to send a message, not just to that person, but also as society as a whole, about what kind of punishment you will meet if you cross certain boundaries. That's number one. Number two, in terms of Chicago and Illinois, this has become a kleptocracy. And it's become a kleptocracy, Banana Republic, who you know rather than what you know or what you can provide. It's all rent seekers and everybody in queue for their special deal and their special favor and their inside job. It's become a kleptocracy because we shrug our shoulders and say this is the Chicago way. And we say, well, this is just part of the culture and he's just another player on the stage that is Chicago politics. And so you minimize that and you beget more of it. So that's the other issue. But I'll just say this. I think Illinois, there's a fake Bill Murray Twitter account. I thought, like a parody account. And but I thought this whoever fake Bill Murray is had a good idea. Put a politician in jail every day for the next 10 years. If we don't know what they did, they do know what they did. Just put them all in jail and let God sort them out.
Judge
How about
Zagel, gave such a harsh sentence because he wants to set an example to warn other politicians not to have bad behavior, not to have fraudulent behavior.
Well, that's part of it. Because wait a second. That's part of it because remember that was part of it. Right. George Ryan got this for 6 years. And you come in and you triple down on what George Ryan was doing in terms of the shakedown scams. And so you triple down on what was done after you see him go to prison for 6 years.
After he promised that he'd, restore integrity to the office.
Forget even what his promise. I don't care about his campaign rhetoric. It's following a governor who went to jail for shakedown schemes, and you triple down on them. You triple down on them? Okay, we're going to double the sentence you receive. That's proportionality to me.
Patty yesterday said no, his mind was made up. Judge Zagel's mind was made up even before the daughters spoke before him. And, she let us know about that after the hearing.
I'm so proud of my daughters. They didn't have to say anything. It's clear that it didn't make any difference what they said. They could have delivered it Broadway style.
Yeah, that nothing would have changed his mind. So they could have done a song and dance routine, a show choir routine, a Broadway performance, and it wouldn't have mattered.
If they would have done a Broadway performance, that would have mattered to me. I would be willing to knock 6 months to a year off if they do it Broadway style. If they did it something like in a Puccini opera,
Yes.
then I'd go up to 18 months.
But again, after the hearing was over, the court staff allowed the former governor to talk via satellite with Amy and Annie, and Amy was shaking her head and saying, Judge Zagel stole my childhood. She was
No,
not at it.
no, your dad did what he did, and now he's paying
And
the
he
piper
said,
for it.
I
So
heard what you said. Thank you. You looked so nice.
his absence, I mean, I don't want to get after the daughters, of course, I understand, but Rod Blagojevich brought this on his family. And by the way, Patty Blagojevich, sort of an unindicted co-conspirator in all of this. Remember the phony baloney job Resco got her?
Yeah.
We've heard what
Real
she said
estate
on those
agent,
tapes. She doesn't exactly come to the table with completely clean hands, even though she was never charged or convicted with anything. Don in Griffith, Indiana.
Hi, I wanted to talk about Rod. I think for Rod Blagojevich and any other person who's in prison who's guilty, if you reduce their sentence or show them leniency, you're showing that their lives are more important than the lives that they've ruined. So I think prison should be worse.
Thanks for the call, Don.
Well, whose lives were ruined? All the people that live in Illinois, or all our lives ruined?
Ruined is
It's
a
a
strong
harsh-
word.
yeah.
Were we negatively impacted?
What governor haven't I been negatively impacted by?
Yeah. The illegality, shaking down Children's Hospital for campaign contributions, begetting
horse track.
begetting this corrupt political culture, which is very cavalier with other people's lives, takes people's businesses as a matter of course, plays favorites as a matter of course, so forestalls opportunities for some while conferring them to others based on your political clout. That hurts people. That hurts people. That hurts families. That's real. Dan in Lockport.
Yeah, hey, I'm wondering, I know this is not the vast majority of the public's opinion to let them out, but it is an excellent example of people that have short-term memories and that inflict self-inflicted wounds by the public that vote in people like Obama, and they vote for Hillary because she's not that bad, but laws are broken. Rod Blagojevich's daughters and all the other examples of full-grown adults that are politicians don't need an example. Keep him in prison. He broke the law. It's the principle of it. And why let his kids grow up and say, well, if the public's for you, they'll let you out.
Yeah.
And you can break the law. And it breeds a whole society of politicians that we've been dealing with, at least at my whole life, 54 years, that have stolen millions and have abused the laws and get away with it. Therein lies the problem.
Thanks for the call, Dan. I mean, this is it. That's exactly it. We complain about politicians who think they're above the law. Where do they get that idea? Maybe because we treat them like they are? Greg in Mount Greenwood.
Yeah, I'm sitting there listening to this thing, and I'll tell you, Rod Blagojevich, he's a dirtbag. He deserves what he got and everything. The reason people are so ticked off and they're calling up and they don't agree with you, Dan, is for the same reason I don't. It's this. You're concentrating on him and what he did and everything. Forget about that. He deserves that and everything. The bigger problem, every time he comes up, people should bring up Lois Lerner and Hillary Clinton and expose what is really the problem. There's no justice. The justice is you think that people are ticked off about the politicians and all that stuff. That's why Trump is in there. Well, it's not just that. There's no justice anymore. It's not banana republic. The whole thing in front of the whole world and everything. Lois Lerner and Hillary Clinton are the biggest example of how this criminal system, any form of justice, is destroyed in this country.
Thanks for the call, Greg. Rick in Valpo.
Good morning. If I am ever convicted of a heinous crime, I want Amy on my jury. Okay, my serious comment is, had Blagojevich not been found out about all of the corruption that he was involved in, he would still be your governor. He'd be running for election for some other office, and the people of Illinois would continue to be electing him into whatever office he ran into.
Probably.
He committed a crime. He got caught. He got punished. All you folks that are sympathetic, get over it. If I got caught doing something and got punished, I wouldn't expect any special treatment because I've got a couple of young kids.
Thanks for the call, Rick.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Dan's head is going to explode on this hot and humid day, a high of 90 degrees. And then tomorrow, more of the same hot and humid with some clouds, a high of 91. Let's get those travel times. Any roads buckling? Here's Dave Morrison with the answer.
Thanks very much, Amy. No roads buckling just yet. We are starting to see some problems develop on some of the roadways, namely on the Edens, where inbound the exit ramp to Cicero remains blocked off with a motorcycle crash. State police is en route to that right now. Not seeing any delays on the Edens because of it, though. The Kennedy's still clear. The inbound Eisenhower is now 35 from Thorndale to downtown. The inbound Stevenson, 37 from 355 to Lakeshore Drive. Inbound on the Dan Ryan, 95th to downtown at 22 minutes. Starting to see delays build starting at 111th Street on both I-57 and the Bishop Ford. Elgin O'Hare, Lakeshore Drive, all 4 Illinois tollways are doing just fine. There are no backups to report in or out of Northwest Indiana. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm David Morrison on AM 560, The Answer.
The rootin' tootin' timeless fun of the Old West is waiting for you and the kids at Donnelly's Wild West Town in nearby Union, Illinois. Wild West Town is a perfect day out for families with children ages 3 to 11. All rides and attractions are included in one low admission price. Pony rides, the Runaway Minecar roller coaster, gold panning, a canoe ride, and a Wild West stunt show are just some of the fun and hands-on activities that await you and the kids. Go to 560theanswer.com/wild for your discount coupons. Wild West Town is the perfect place for your child's birthday party. And grandparents, this is a great day out for you and the grandkids. You won't believe how much fun you'll have. Grandparents can receive free admission on Mondays and Tuesdays with a coupon from 560theanswer.com/wild. Wild West Town, 45 minutes northwest of O'Hare Airport, just off I-90. Round up the gang and head on out to Donnelly's Wild West Town in Union, Illinois.
Donnelly's Wild West Town. As a business owner or HR director, you've seen medical plans disappear. You've seen deductible and co-payment and total out-of-pocket expenses skyrocket, and the new prescription plans are a joke. You've been forced to accept the Obamacare-compliant plans, while at the same time, labor organizations and other friends of the establishment have been given special exemptions. Thankfully, the market for group health insurance has caught up, and some companies we work with can now offer these same ACA-exempt policies for your employees. My name is Greg Eck, president of Beneficial Solutions. Our team has been reacting to ever-changing insurance markets for the past 25 years. Beneficial Solutions will arm your company with the latest tools to protect your business from potential ACA penalties and make the most of your employee benefit dollars. Call us now so we can game plan before open enrollment season arrives at 630-717-8282. That's 630-717-8282. Or find us online at beneficialsolutions.com.
Active lifestyles demand that the food you eat have a purpose, but that doesn't mean you can't indulge in your favorite foods. With Muscle Mac macaroni and cheese, you can finally eat the macaroni and cheese you love and still maintain a healthy diet with GMO-free pasta and real cheese with no synthetic dyes, colors, or artificial flavors. Muscle Mac's creamy, cheesy sauce blankets the high-protein pasta for a burst of flavor in every bite. Muscle Mac delivers 20 grams of protein in every delicious serving. Fortified with added vegetable and dairy proteins, it's an affordable and healthy alternative to animal proteins. Just one serving of Muscle Mac mac and cheese provides 40% of your recommended daily protein intake and can be a great addition to a balanced diet. This isn't any ordinary macaroni and cheese. Muscle Mac is made with more real cheese than any other brand. It's a yummy and satisfying meal for your whole family after a full day of activities or anytime you crave the comfort of a delicious bowl of mac and cheese. Available now at Jewel Osco and Pete's Fresh Market throughout Chicagoland.
Daily stress is a big deal. Fact is, the terrible impact of stress is very deadly and shortens our lives. Stressed individuals attract diseases, just like blood in the water attracts sharks. Hi, this is Dr. David Kolbaba. I'm the show host of Health Quest Radio, the longest-running health news and science show in Chicago. And for over 33 years, we share practical concepts from a natural healthcare perspective to minimize the need for all those dangerous drugs and risky surgeries. Today, it's our dirt cheap adrenal stress index test. No blood, just spit. Most people flunk on their first go-around, signaling adrenal gland distress. And then following our stress-busting strategies, most individuals pass their second test with flying colors. So if you can spare a little spit, call and purchase your first dirt cheap adrenal stress index test, and we'll hold that same special low price for your follow-up test. Call 800-794-1855. You can't get any cheaper than dirt cheap. 800-794-1855. And be sure to tune into Health Quest Radio this Saturday morning at 11.
The U.S. Senior and Women's Open, the BMW Championship, the Chicago Half Marathon, NASCAR racing, the Blackhawks Parade, so many festivals and special events. And they all have one thing in common: Master Fence Rental. Master Fence Rental provides professional fence rental services throughout all phases of your construction project, special event, or emergency situation, along with prompt delivery and expert installation. These are the guys to call when you need to maintain temporary safety and security at your site. Master Fence Rental is ready right now for your next big event or building project with chain link fences, fence panels, and pedestrian barricades that are uniquely designed and built to be sturdy, safe, and attractive with easy installation and takedown. Event planners, show producers, contractors, request a free quote today and get ready to work with the temporary fence pros. Master Fence. Call 866-622-0822. 866-622-0822 or online, masterfencerental.com.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Terrorist sympathizer at Hillary rally at 6:06.
And more of your phone calls about Blago's resentencing. But first, into the newsroom we go. Here is Mike Scott.
Amy and Dan, a judge denies sentence reduction for Rod Blagojevich. Monday, one of the deadliest days in Chicago since 2003.
Hillary wants to abolish, essentially abolish
drug-induced homicide.
the Second Amendment.
Maryville
If she
Star
gets
Plaza
to pick
Theater
her judges,
close and be demolished. Cubs
some
and Sox
people have
were
been
winners.
saying that. A lot of people
There's
are
another
saying that.
Olympic
Half the
medal
people
for
in this room is saying
Vanessa's
it.
Wire.
Some people.
Partly sunny day ahead. WIND Chicago News Time, 6 o'clock.
Nobody in that room thought anything other than what you just said. This is.
Trump say about his latest controversial comments?
There can be no other interpretation. Even reporters have told me. I mean, give me a break.
Democrats disagree, claiming Trump was advocating violence. Talking
I
about
want you
Hillary
to kill
Clinton.
every
Fox's
gopher
Rachel
on the
Sutherland is
coast.
live in Washington.
Dave, here's a statement that's causing the latest
It looks like a miracle.
controversy.
It's in the hole. To pick her judges.
Oh, this is the worst looking hat I ever
Nothing
saw.
you can do,
Well, you
folks.
buy a hat like this, I bet you get a free bowl of soup,
Although
huh?
the Second Amendment.
Oh,
people
it looks
may be
good on you,
nervous.
though.
Trump talking about Clinton and gun rights in North Carolina. The Trump campaign says he was referring to a political movement, not violence. The Clinton camp calls what he said dangerous.
It looks like a
The
miracle.
Secret Service
It's in the
said it's
hole.
aware of the comment, but no word on an investigation. Dave.
Rachel, there are new emails from Hillary Clinton's time as Secretary of State questioning whether
Hey,
she
White.
had ties to the Clinton
When
Foundation.
you die, obtained by Judicial Watch,
on your
including
deathbed,
some from the Clinton server that nobody you has will seen receive yet that show Bill total Clinton's longtime aide and former body man Doug Band Hey, Whitey, pressuring where's your hat? then Secretary Clinton's aides to connect a billionaire donor
So
named
jump
Greg
shipping on.
Gilbert Chigori with a
Can I make my
diplomat.
way once? This is Peter Ducey. The Clinton campaign says these emails do not show any connection between Secretary Clinton and the foundation. The Justice Department will release a report today accusing
We will
Baltimore
work
police
with
of
House
routinely discriminating
Republicans
against
on
black
this
people
plan
after a
using the.
probe following Freddie Gray's death in police custody, which was
In
much
times as
protested, but
uncertain
none
as
of the six
these,
cops charged was
it is
convicted.
easy to
In
resort to
Ferguson, Missouri,
division. It's simple to prey on people's fears.
They ran over a protester in a video.
They
that Heather
spin
DeMaio
out
posted on
that what he
Newsroom
meant
during
by
what happened
that
at a peaceful
was
demonstration marking 2 years since black teen
that it
Michael
was a
Brown killed
joke,
by a white police
and that what he
officer.
meant by
No
that
one was injured
was
by the gun.
that
The guy hit by the car was badly hurt. The driver is cooperating. Police do not think it was intentional. Another
They
frustrating
spin out
day,
that
trying to
what
fly
he meant
Delta.
by
The
that
airline has
was
canceled or delayed nearly 300 more flights as the dominoes keep
that it
falling
was a
after Monday's
joke,
hour-long
and that what he
computer
meant by
outage.
that was
Fox News Radio,
that
fair and balanced.
they would kill her.
Mostly clear skies this morning. We have 73 degrees at 6:02
Now, okay.
on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning.
To buy that,
I'm Mike Scott, a
you have to be
lawyer for
corrupt.
former Illinois Governor
Because
Rod
if you said
Blagojevich
that to
says
me,
now that a
I would
judge
say
has
to you,
declined to
"Are you out of
lighten
your mind?"
Blagojevich's 14-year prison sentence, he may again appeal
you
to
imagine
the
if-
U.S. Supreme Court. District Judge
Could you
James
imagine
Zagel
if I
refused
said
to
that
lessen
I
Blagojevich's sentence yesterday. The jail
Could you
politician's
imagine
wife,
if I said
Patty
that I
Blagojevich,
short-circuited?
spoke with reporters after that decision.
We find
They would be calling for my execution. Electrocution. They'd bring back the electric. It's one thing to make bad
Blagojevich
decisions.
expected to remain behind
It's another
bars
thing
until
to be
2024.
wacky and make bad decisions.
Gun violence continues to plague the city of Chicago, where 9 were shot and killed on Monday, making it the deadliest
Some people
day
have been
since
saying that
2003. 2 suburban Chicago residents have received prison sentences after pleading guilty to giving a fatal dose of heroin in March of 2015 to a man
Hillary wants
visiting
to
their residence
abolish
and
the-
then hiding that victim's body. 45-year-old Hallie Manning and 45-year-old
Nobody
Anthony
in that
Brown
room.
shared an apartment in Hanover Park. They pleaded to
The city of
guilty to
Detroit.
drug-induced homicide in a DuPage County Circuit Court.
We will work
The school
with House
district of East
Republicans
Chicago is
on this
having
plan.
to move students from a school next to a housing complex where soil is contaminated with lead. The Munster Times reporting that
Nearly
Carrie Ghosh
12
elementary
million
students are
people
being
have been
moved to
added
school
to the food
across
stamp,
the city,
and
partially because
these people
of low
are
enrollment,
growing
and that
and
is stemming
growing
from
so
parents
rapidly
who are reluctant to send
since
their
President
kids to a
Obama
school near a U.S.
took
EPA
off.
Superfund site.
Thank you very much.
Thank
you.
the ground near
I
that
will
housing
say the
complex
Bernie
has had
Sanders people
high levels
had
of
far
arsenic
more
and
energy
lead
and spirit,
for
I will
years.
say.
Cubs over the LA Angels 5-1. Home run for Chris Bryant, number 28. Todd Frazier, home run number 31. A 3-run
There will
bomb
be
in the
no
10th,
lifting
lifting the Sox over Kansas
There will
City.
be no
7-5.
change.
The news
under
is a
Hillary
service of
Clinton.
Accountemps.
Only
Business
4
needs can
more
change
years.
from day to day. That's why at Accountemps, you can rely on their flexible staffing solutions to provide temporary accounting and finance professionals whenever you need an extra hand. Call today or visit Accountemps.com. Accountemps, a Robert Half company. 6:04 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
My America is really easy. I can sum up my America in about 9.5 seconds.
The Joe Walsh Show.
It's my life, it's my money, it's my family, it's my business. I'll be responsible for everything. Government, get the hell out of my life. 9.5 freaking seconds.
The Joe Walsh Show. Weeknights starting at 5. Right after Sean Hannity at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
That might have been 8.5 seconds.
If you want to work until you drop, reduce your standard of living in retirement, or lose more of your hard-earned money in the stock market, then just ignore me. But if you'd like to generate a steady, predictable income, I'm talking real wealth and financial security for as long as you live, then listen to this. A free report is now available that reveals the money-making secrets Wall Street and the banks don't want you to know. It reveals how you can get guaranteed growth, safety, and wealth-building power without risking your money in the Wall Street casino. To get your free special report, visit bankonyourself.com. That's bankonyourself.com.
This is an alert. If your business or church is building this year, you're about to pay more than you should. This could mean thousands of dollars more for your office, retail space, church, or warehouse. A General Steel building can save you as much as half the cost and time of similar conventional construction. And we're offering rebates of up to $20,000 to help you build today. Call General Steel for free information that could save you thousands. Call 800-98-STEEL. 800-98-STEEL. That's 800-987-8335.
6:06 and in our Guardian Security Services Traffic Center. In for Jim, here's David Morrison.
Thanks very much, Mike. We start off on the city's southwest side, northbound Cicero at Pershing. There's a crash blocking off the left lane, and in Elgin, they do have Highland blocked off between Grove and Route 31, all because of some railroad crossing work. It's going to be that way until Friday, August 19th. Checking in with the Eden, still fine in both directions. Inbound, they've actually reopened that exit ramp at Cicero. Earlier motorcycle accident there. Kennedy's doing fine. The inbound Eisenhower's 38 minutes from Thorndale to downtown. The inbound Stevenson up to 43 from 355 to Lakeshore Drive. Dan Ryan outbound 15 minutes. Inbound is 22. Both the Ford and I-57 are slow approaching the Dan Ryan. Most of the tollways are fine, but northbound on the Tri-State a little bit tight from the Reagan tollway up to the 290 ramp. This report is sponsored by Burger King's Breakfast. What's the best place to have your breakfast? How about a warm croissant? Right now at Burger King, get 2 croissant-wich breakfast sandwiches for just $4. A light, flaky croissant piled high with savory sausage or delicious thick-cut smoked bacon. 2 croissant-wich for $4 only at Burger King. Price and participation may vary. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm David Morrison on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the AirComfort.com Weather Center, providing the right climate for business since 1935. Here's our meteorologist, Kevin Snyder.
Today, partly sunny, hot and humid, high 91. Partly cloudy, warm and humid tonight with a low 73. Tomorrow, hot and humid with intervals of clouds and sunshine with a high tomorrow of 92 and a low of 76. I'm Kevin Snyder on AM 560, The Answer.
71 at O'Hare, 74 along the lakefront. Next news at 6:30, Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Kelly Financial Services, helping you secure your financial future today. Visit kellyfinancialservicesinc.com.
Good morning. Welcome to your Wednesday morning briefing. Here's what you need to know to start your day.
If she gets to pick her judges, nothing you can do, folks. Although the Second Amendment people, maybe there is, I don't know. But
if someone else had said that outside the hall, he'd be in the back of a police wagon now with the Secret Service questioning him.
Right now, Blagojevich is sentenced as if he had asked for envelope stuffed with cash.
We find his sentence unusually cruel and heartless and unfair.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. So we've got a couple of controversies yesterday on the presidential campaign trail. Of course, Donald Trump is just unwilling to let Hillary be the focus of the controversy. He had to get in on the act. But it is interesting to note, in answer to the question, where does the terrorist sympathizing father of the Orlando terrorist murderer, where does he find comfort in public? At a Hillary campaign rally in Florida.
He went to a Hillary campaign rally?
Yeah, you're not. Yes.
Oh, and what about that gunman's wife? Why hasn't she been indicted yet?
Well,
let's talk about sympathizers.
The father
accomplices to crimes. Yes.
The father wearing a red hat, and as Trump was quick to point out, didn't say "Make America Great" on it. It actually said Mercedes-Benz on it, which I'm sure Mercedes-Benz would like to recall that branding opportunity.
Excuse me. Yeah, we're going to need that hat back, sir.
So he is sitting right behind Hillary Clinton during her rally in Kissimmee, Florida.
Kissimmee.
Yeah, I've heard it's both.
All right.
Kissimmee is what I've heard. I don't know.
I've
I
heard
used to think it was
Kissimmee.
Kissimmee, too.
Uh-huh.
Potato, potato, tomato, tomato. So she's at this rally in Florida.
I saw that. I didn't know that was him because they highlighted him behind.
Yeah.
I thought they were doing the story because he was wearing a "Make America Great Again" hat, but I didn't know who he was.
No, not a "Make America Great Again" hat. This is the Taliban sympathizer who is not just a member of the party that sympathizes with terrorists. He's also supporting their presidential candidate. And here's what he said to a local reporter who caught up with him after his attendance about... what was the calculus that you went through in the decision to attend the Hillary rally?
Clinton is good for the United States versus Donald Trump.
He wanted to do an interview and showed us a sign he made for Hillary Clinton.
So tell us why you wanted to stop and talk now.
Well, I felt like to tell you why I stopped to talk to you, because it's very important for the United States of America, especially the election. I was invited by Democratic Party.
Just like a come support Hillary, just a regular chain email or a personal invitation?
So it came out, I'm a member. So as a member, I get the invitation. So it's nothing particular about it.
An email blast. You see him all the time. Come support your candidate.
Yeah, he's a member. Maybe he'll rise up to be the president of the Hillary fan club, because it's a nice national security endorsement that she picked up from the Orlando shooter's father, isn't it? By the way, his Hillary Clinton sign, his homemade Hillary Clinton sign.
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton with 4 bullet points, pun intended, makes the biggest investment since World War II. Good for national security. Ex-CIA Chief Morrell, quote, Hillary told the truth about Benghazi. And, of course, the kicker, gun control laws. The Orlando shooter's father's big gun control proponent.
Oh, that's so sick. That is so wrong.
But he is he is a great spokesman for the Democrat Party. I assume we'll hear him with this offering in a forthcoming DNC commercial.
It's a Democratic Party, so everybody can join.
Yeah, Big Tent.
Oh,
Big Tent.
my
So
gosh.
what about that? What should?
Wow, why would we hear about this story?
Hillary was. We heard about it.
We're hearing about it.
Hillary was.
Thanks to AM 560.
Hillary was asked to comment on this, and she ducked reporters' questions. Trump,
You think you would do the same thing?
Trump was asked about it on Hannity last night. He did not duck the question.
I heard about that, and I saw the picture of him with a red hat, but it didn't have Make America Great on it, by the way. And she did not disavow. And if that were me, this would be a headline all over the world about Trump. But she did not, as I understand it, disavow this man.
Oh, so what about that? Should Hillary have to disavow? Because does Trump have a point that if it were him, that not just him, he would have to disavow, and every person in the Republican Party organizational structure, the Washington Press Corps would get out the org chart and just go right up and down the line. What do you say about this? What do you say about this? Everyone would have to weigh in on this. Hillary Clinton doesn't even have to answer a reporter's question on the topic. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. Should Hillary have to disavow the way that the media has chased and been chasing Donald Trump to comment on every screwball white supremacist or whoever that says something nice about Trump?
If that was Donald Trump, if he was supporting Donald Trump, yes, it would be the headline everywhere. And Donald Trump would have to call a press conference or, just go on the Hannity show to clarify it. But Hillary Clinton, they're giving her a pass. Once again, the mainstream media is not confronting her. I know they tried to, but they're not even making this an issue. You don't even see this story anywhere.
And Ivanka Trump in Detroit the other day, when her father was giving that speech before the Detroit Economic Club, she suggested something that may be relevant with the media controversies yesterday about the Orlando shooter's father at the Hillary rally, and then what Trump said about Second Amendment folks, which we'll get to in a minute. But Ivanka said, the kind of establishment is a bit afraid of her father, and that's why you see so many people seeking to undermine his candidacy.
He's incredibly level-headed. I think that he fights and he's strong and he's had to fight. He has a lot of people coming at him. He also has tremendous support and love and enthusiasm for his positions. But he beat 16 incredibly capable, competent people in the Republican primaries. So it's not my place to tell him to change his campaigning style. I think he fights the fights that he feels are important for this country. And he'll bring that same spirit and that same energy to the White House. And I think people want somebody who's going to fight for them. And he will be the champion of the people.
It's interesting. Somehow, that's basically Trump campaign talking points she offered, but somehow when she delivers them, they're more persuasive.
I know. There's something about her where when she talks, I listen, and she makes sense. She needs to help her dad a little bit.
Well,
because her dad's in hot water this morning.
Yeah, because of what he said at this rally in Wilmington, North Carolina yesterday about Hillary Clinton and Supreme Court justices.
Hillary wants to essentially abolish the Second Amendment. By the way, and if she gets to pick her judges, nothing you can do, folks. Although the Second Amendment people, maybe there is, I don't know. But
whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa, that NBC News, dangerous talk. Is he wanting to encourage people to assassinate Hillary Clinton? I'm not kidding you. That's how they interpreted.
That's exactly how they interpreted it.
What happened? And Donald Trump on with Hannity last night, trying to clarify, doubling down on what he said and what he meant.
Nobody in that room thought anything other than what you just said. This is a political movement. This is a strong, powerful movement, the Second Amendment. Hillary wants to take your guns away. She wants to leave you unprotected in your home. This is a tremendous political movement. The NRA, as you know, endorsed me. They're terrific people, Wayne and Chris and all of the people over there. And by the way, I just saw they tweeted out, basically they agree 100% with what I said, and there can be no other interpretation. Even reporters have told me, give me a break.
It is a give me a break moment. The idea that he's insinuating violence against Hillary Clinton is absurd. How absurd is it? How about this? Never Trump Republican Senator Susan Collins, she's not voting for Trump, but she said about his statement, I think he was suggesting that the Second Amendment advocates across the country might be able to come together to pressure the Senate to reject her nominees should she become president. That's how I interpreted it. Yeah, because that's a fair interpretation. Even if you're not a Trump supporter, that's a fair interpretation.
But what if Clinton made the Second Amendment remark about Donald Trump? Wouldn't we be freaking out right now if
No.
she said what he said?
I don't think Hillary Clinton is calling for Donald Trump's assassination. I don't think I don't think she's said anything in that vein. I don't think she will say anything in that vein. It's absurd. It's absurd.
Well,
Susan Collins has it exactly right. But by the way, if you want a little bit of context, when Democrats had control of Congress and a Democrat in the White House, first 2 years of Obama's reign, they didn't move on the assault weapon ban. They didn't move on any gun control measures. You know why?
Right. Why?
Because they're afraid of those Second Amendment folks politically. There are too many Democrats who would be vulnerable because, frankly, on the center-right side, there is no component of the coalition that is more organized and more politically potent than people that are motivated to vote and engage in political activism because of protecting their Second Amendment rights. And the Democrats know that as well, which is why they didn't touch this agenda that they're now jawboning because it's politically convenient to do so because there's no chance of it moving, and it allows them to play to kind of the leftist base of the party in part.
Well, this morning the Secret Service is aware of what Donald Trump said because they're, just making sure that their candidate they're supposed to protect is safe and that nobody, it's not a call to action by any means. And ex-CIA chief General Michael Hayden, he's one of those people, one of the 50 who signed that letter to Donald Trump,
right?
Said he could be arrested.
When I heard that for the first time, that was more than a speed bump. All right. That's actually a very arresting comment. If someone else had said that outside the hall, he'd be in the back of a police wagon now with the Secret Service questioning him.
Is this all hyperbole?
That's absurd. That's an absurd statement from Michael Hayden. I respect Michael Hayden. It's an absurd comment.
He was on with Wolf Blitzer and just reacted right away.
Now, the flip side of this,
yes,
this goes again to this nagging problem that Donald Trump has, his imprecision with language. And especially when you know that everything you say is going to be taken and twisted to be cast in the most negative, outlandish light possible. So if you want to be off the cuff, that's fine, but you may want to think through comments you're going to make or qualify them after you make a comment that could be taken in multiple ways. And it's not just because you're going to blunt the impact of a media that is kind of all in, as Brett Baer talked about on this show with us, a media that suffers from the Trump derangement syndrome. Everything is some kind of veiled threat of violence. But it's because it's not politically advantageous. Byron York has an excellent piece in the Washington Examiner yesterday. Hillary Clinton's boring, pedestrian, meat and potatoes, news-free, and relentlessly effective campaign. He compares Hillary Clinton's speech. He takes a speech that she gave in Vegas, and he just goes through kind of the 20 points of her speech. It's all kind of focus group tested, one thing after another, of appeals to the various constituencies of the left, and it's all vanilla. It's all milquetoast. Byron York writes of her speech and the speech that she's been given in all these rallies. There wasn't a single headline in the entire 20-minute poll and focus group tested speech or others delivered in Nebraska and Colorado, which hit many of the same points. And by the way, Clinton's speeches are about 1/3 of the length of Trump's unscripted performances, which often go over an hour, giving Trump far more chances to say something controversial. She understands that if she is the referendum, she loses. And Trump needs to understand and actually internalize that reality. Because to the extent that he continues to run interference for the stories we should be talking about with respect to Hillary, and he continues to come over the top with comments, however unfairly interpreted, that distract us from making Hillary the referendum question in this campaign, is the extent to which he loses the presidency.
But he's not disciplined. I mean, he had one day.
Well, this is what
where
we're talking
he was disciplined, and then yesterday he went off prompter just trying to be funny. It's almost as if he was trying to entertain the crowd instead of informing the crowd about Hillary Clinton. And he says things like that, and it just makes me scratch my head. And I have to try and vote for him and try to respect him, but it's very hard.
Connect with Dan and Amy using the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Hot and humid today, a high of 90 degrees, and the same for tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to have some clouds around here and a high of 91. And we could see finally a couple of showers, hopefully around here by Friday. Anything good on the roadways? Here's Dave Morrison, who's in for Jim Telemonte.
Thanks very much, Amy. We start off on the southwest side, northbound Cicero between the Stevenson and Pershing. Crash blocking off the right lane. Definitely starting to see some delays building in that area. The inbound side of the Kennedy is now 21 minutes from O'Hare into downtown. The outbound trip is fine. No delays on the Edens. Inbound of the Ike is 41 from Thorndale. Outbound 31 back out to Thorndale. Stevenson inbound 43 minutes, 3:55 to Lakeshore Drive. Heavy Lamont to Cass and first to Kedzie. Dan Ryan inbound now 25 minutes between 95th Street and downtown.
Final words for the comptroller.
I-57 inbound, it's a bit slow between 119th and the Dan Ryan. The inbound Ford is heavy from 103rd to the Ryan Expressway. The rest of the Illinois expressways and tollways are doing just fine, but eastbound on the Indiana Toll Road at the Portage exit, there's a truck on fire. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm David Morrison on AM 560, The Answer.
I have actually been on Balance of Nature for a year now. I have MS, and I recently had an MRI. This is the first year that I've had a stable MRI, so I'm thrilled. When I have an MRI with MS, usually there are glowing spots that come through, which is damage on the nerves in my brain and my spinal cord, and when they're glowing, it means they're active. And then my last MRI, they pulled it up, and I honestly couldn't believe that it was my MRI. There was nothing glowing. And in fact, the dark spots were shrinking. They were healing. And the doctor actually said to me, I think we're in remission. I was so happy. I had no idea that that could be my reality.
Call now to find out how to get your free month's supply of Balance of Nature. Call 800-2468-751. That's 800-2468-751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com.
Use promo code CHICAGO.
No matter what type of business you're in, having a strong business banking partnership can help your bottom line. I'm Jeff Boundy, president of Cornerstone National Bank and Trust Company. We strongly believe that trust, service, and relationship are the cornerstone of a successful business banking partnership. Customers like Rick Williams of Pump Supply agree.
Hi, my name is Rick Williams, owner of Pump Supply Incorporated. As a business owner, I recognize the importance of relationships. I need a bank that understands my business and is able to respond quickly and creatively to the needs of my company. Cornerstone has been a valuable business partner and has helped me grow my company and seize opportunities as I come across them. Whether it's providing a line of credit or financing the acquisition of equipment or real estate, Cornerstone has been there for me every step of the way.
Thanks, Rick. Please visit cornerstonenb.com, or I invite you to give me a call at 847-654-3000 to explore a business banking partnership.
Equal Opportunity Lender. Member FDIC.
I am so glad I did it. I'm just mad at myself for waiting so long. Hi, Amy Jacobson here for CertaPro Painters. You know, our front porch had chipping and peeling. It looked old and run down, but thanks to CertaPro Painters, it looks brand new again. And trust me, my neighbors are happy I did it. And you know, it's not too late to book that painting project. But don't wait. Be sure to get on CertaPro Painters' summer painting schedule today. Call 800-GO-CERTA or visit CertaPro.com. That's Certa with a C. You know, CertaPro Painters will work around your busy schedule to get your home looking picture perfect for all your summer entertaining. That's why CertaPro Painters says we do painting, you do life. Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated. Whether it's residential or commercial, interior or exterior, it's not too late to get that painting project off your to-do list. Call now, 1-800-GO-CERTA, 1-800-GOCERTA, or visit CertaPro.com today.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy, all right, talking about the dueling controversies. Tara's father shows up at the Hillary rally with a homemade sign. Very happy to support Hillary. And also a proponent of gun control, it turns out. Not for the Taliban, but for law-abiding citizens in this country.
And
Very interesting.
She's going to be tough on national security, too.
Oh, yes, she is. And then Trump makes an offhand comment about, quote-unquote, Second Amendment folks and is being characterized.
Second Amendment people what he said is Second Amendment people may be able to stop Clinton over her SCOTUS
and
picks.
it's being characterized as some kind of veiled assassination threat for Hillary. It's
call to action.
Ridiculous. Kevin in Libertyville, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning, guys. Hey, this is really a head fake. Why people are focusing on this, no matter what Donald Trump says and when he says it, there will be someone out there to twist and turn. And granted, he helps them a lot with his inarticulate speech patterns.
Well, that's the big thing. You can't just say, but you can't just kind of gloss over that. That's the big thing.
Yes.
Right. No, there's no doubt he helps them out a lot. But you know what? The guy, the same day that we're the front page story is his inartful comment on the Second Amendment. There's stories out there about that DNC staffer who was shot in the back, killed. He wasn't robbed. He wasn't a drug dealer. He wasn't a gangbanger. His body was left dead. And now you're getting a wink and a nod from Julian Assange that he may have been the leaker for the DNC email.
Yeah,
no
thanks.
one is covering that.
Well, we are going to. Kevin, we got that story. We're going to get to that story. I appreciate the call. John in Peatone. Hey, John.
Hi. I have a real problem when I see bird colonels and generals coming out and being political. They shouldn't be. I don't know why they get involved. They are politicians. The government, actually the politicians are the ones that promote them. They don't make it through the normal channels. This guy that is defending, talking against Donald Trump's comments, should just stay out of it. It's made up. We know where he stands. It's not his job to get involved. Once you're in the military, stay out of politics. That's my comment.
Thanks for the call, John. Don't tell that to Ike.
Yeah.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Townstone Financial is synonymous with great rates, low closing costs, and phenomenal service to the thousands who have completed purchases and refinances with us since 2002. Hi, my name is Barry Sterner, owner of Townstone Financial. Let's hear about the Townstone experience from one of our customers.
My name is Brian Cole. I'm a realtor locally here in Chicago with Catsline Properties. I have worked with Barry Sterner for a number of years with Townstone Financial, and most recently on a deal that I did where my buyers were actually sellers. Townstone Financial, specifically Zach Schwartz and Barry Sterner, made it a point to have them pre-qualified for a mortgage. They ended up closing on the same day, and Townstone Financial made the whole process completely seamless.
Remember, nobody values your business more than Townstone Financial, and I'm always available to answer your questions. Call me now, Barry Sterner, at 312-896-2111. That's 312-896-2111. Or go to townstone.com. That's TOWNSTONE.com.
Townstone Financials, Indiana, Michigan, Wisconsin, Florida, Illinois, mortgage licensee 6629 and NMLS 136639, equal housing lender.
Many of you own or manage growing companies, and you know that your entire business depends on your phones. If your phone service provider struggles to deliver your calls, it can mean lost revenue. That's often the case with an outdated phone system. The solution? Well, it's a company that we use here at AM 560, Innovative Networks. They excel at providing innovative solutions to reinforce your company's phone infrastructure and enhance call flow. We truly appreciate how comprehensive, diligent, and cost-effective Innovative Networks was in providing solutions that scale as our business expands. Innovative Networks can even replace your outdated phone system at no cost and provide hands-on training to maximize your capabilities. You'll save money and be more focused on growing your business. Here at AM 560, we're thrilled with Innovative Networks, so follow our lead and call Innovative Networks at 312-453-7777. They're rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau. Call 312-453-7777 or visit go4inet.com. That's go, the number 4, I-N-E-T, phonehome.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
And coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Public sector pension funds returning about 1.5% this year. That's real bad news for a state with the largest unfunded pension liability in the country. We'll talk about that with Scott Shaladia from Fox Business at 6:36.
But first, let's go back into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
Dan and Amy, as you and the callers have mentioned, there is a new report this morning that WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange is hitting that a Democratic National Committee staffer who was murdered last month was the source of those leaked emails. You may recall 27-year-old Seth Rich was shot to death on a Washington, D.C. street before dawn on July 8. Democratic Vice Presidential nominee Tim Kaine says he couldn't believe what he heard from Donald Trump yesterday when it came to his comments on the Second Amendment.
I really, frankly, couldn't believe he said it, and so I went to watch the video of it and found that he had said it exactly the way it was printed.
Trump addressed those criticisms last night on Fox News.
Because it's going to tell people more about me with respect to the Second Amendment, because Hillary Clinton wants to essentially abolish the Second Amendment. And if she puts Supreme Court justices on, she will decimate your Second Amendment.
Meantime, nearly 1 in 5 Republicans say they want Donald Trump to drop out of the presidential race. That's part of a Reuters Ipsos poll out this morning. About 19% think he should go. No one hurt in a Ferguson, Missouri protest, gunfire erupting on the anniversary of Michael Brown's death. Many peaceful gatherings were held, but gunfire did erupt during one protest after a driver struck a protester. Justice Department investigation into Baltimore's police department shows that police, according to the report, routinely violated the constitutional rights of some Baltimore citizens. A lawyer for former Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich says that now that a judge has declined to lighten his 14-year prison sentence, he may again appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. And a Chicago activist convicted of lying to get U.S. citizenship in Detroit is resisting a government request for a mental health exam as she tries to overturn her conviction. Razmia Oda's conviction could be thrown out. The federal judge finds that testimony about post-traumatic stress disorder is reliable. The government disputes that PTSD had any role in Oda's failure to tell immigration officials that she had served time in an Israeli prison. Oda is a pro-Palestinian activist tied to the Arab American Action Network here in Chicago. Cubs over the Angels 5-1. White Sox top Kansas City in 10, 7-5. The news, a service of Biota Botanicals. Biota Botanicals Advanced Herbal Care Collection, safe and effective. Biota, a worldwide favorite when it comes to combating thinning damaged hair. Visit BiotaUSA.com, BIOTAUSA.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
It's back. The biggest conservative event in the Midwest returns this October. It's Freedom Summit Chicago 2016, October 29th in Itasca, featuring Alan West, Michelle Malkin, Mike Gallagher, Stephen Moore, Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, Joe Walsh, and many more. Tickets start at just $29. Order your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Automated Systems Incorporated, Saul Z, and the Z Team, and by Best Dental Group.
Blue Moon Barbecue Sauce is back at Buffalo Wild Wings. Rich, tangy barbecue sauce combines with the citrus flavors of Blue Moon. Get here before it's gone. Buffalo Wild Wings. Wings, beer, sports.
The U.S. Senior and Women's Open, the BMW Championship, the Chicago Half Marathon, NASCAR racing, the Blackhawks Parade. So many festivals and special events. And they all have one thing in common. Master Fence Rental. Master Fence Rental provides professional fence rental services throughout all phases of your construction project, special event, or emergency situation, along with prompt delivery and expert installation. These are the guys to call when you need to maintain temporary safety and security at your site. Master Fence Rental is ready right now for your next big event or building project with chain link fences, fence panels, and pedestrian barricades that are uniquely designed and built to be sturdy, safe, and attractive with easy installation and takedown. Event planners, show producers, contractors, request a free quote today and get ready to work with the temporary fence pros. Master Fence. Call 866-622-0822, 866-622-0822, or online, masterfencerental.com.
6:36 in our Guardian Security Services Traffic Center. In for Jim, here's David Morrison.
Thanks very much, Mike. Eden's starting to build up some volume. We've got 21 minutes of travel time between Lake Cook and the Junction in either direction. Kennedy outbound 30 out to the airport. Slow Lawrence to Sayre. Inbounds tight off the extension to Foster. It's 30 from O'Hare back into downtown. Outbound to the Eisenhower, 38 out to Thorndale. Inbounds 47 minutes. Thorndale to the post office. The inbound Stevenson now up to an hour and 10 minutes from 355 to Lakeshore Drive. That got bad quick. Dan Ryan inbound 95th to downtown at 25 minutes. I-57 inbound starting slow down at 119th. The inbound Ford starts tightening up at 103rd. Tri-State northbound slowing down 87th to LaGrange. Plainfield to the Hinsdale Oasis. And then 88 up to the Grand Avenue curve. Eastbound 90, some slow pockets between Barrington and Route 53. And again between the Tri-State and the River Road Toll Plaza. Indiana Toll Road eastbound is currently closed off right now between the Portage Travel Plaza to just past the Portage exit, all because of a truck on fire. This report is sponsored by Triton College. At Triton College, you'll find real quality in their modern facilities and dedicated faculty. You'll find real value in their courses that will cost you a fraction of four-year schools. Triton College, you'll find real opportunity. Visit triton.edu today. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm David Morrison on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the aircomfort.com Weather Center, providing the right climate for business since 1935. Hot and humid today with a high near 90 and a humid low of 73 overnight. Currently in Chicago, we have 73. Next news coming up at 7. And Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by The Steve Beeman Show with co-host Carol Parisi, empowering you Sunday evenings at 8 right here on AM 560.
Coming up next, it's me, Mike Gallagher, right after Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy on AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. And Amy, no matter who wins the presidency, they're not going to get Illinois and Chicago out of its problems. We're not going to get bailed out from generations of bad decisions. And some more bad news, this from Governing Magazine. So far this year, no major pension plan has reported a preliminary annual investment return of more than 1.5%. That is incredibly depressing news for a state with the largest unfunded pension liability in the country, for a Chicago public school system that is junk rated with a $9 billion unfunded pension liability, for a city of Chicago with police and fire pensions that are less than 30% funded, some $20 billion plus in terms of unfunded liabilities, junk rated. Chicago CPS, nearly junk rated city, and worst credit rating of any state in the nation. Actually, any state in the nation since the early 90s. That's where the state of Illinois is. So this isn't the sexy stuff, but it turns out to be the stuff that destroys your city and state's economy. Just ask Detroit. For more on this, as well as some of the presidential talk on matters economic, we're happy to be joined again by our friend Scott Shalady, Fox Business News contributor. Scott, thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
So how about that? The problem with the news that the pension funds aren't returning more than 1.5% is that, of course, the actuaries in government assume a 7.5% return for these pension funds, which I know is kind of Jack and the Beanstalk type numbers and assumptions, but that's what they assume. That's a pretty big gap when you're talking about tens of billions of dollars and people's retirement on the line.
100% correct. And you started off by saying that neither president really is going to be able to get the state out of that problem, number one. Number two, structurally, I could make the case that it's already over. I think mathematically there are some folks now starting to come out and saying that we're not going to be able to pay that money back, and almost certainly we can't. So what are you going to do? I tell people that ask me, I said, you just have to live your life and pretend like you don't have a pension because, and for all intents and purposes, you don't. So what happens when you save for your children's education and you plan on a 7.5% return on your money for 15 years to send little Johnny to college, and all of a sudden you wake up one morning realizing you're getting 1.5%? You do the natural thing. And the natural thing is to put your hands in your pockets and stop spending. And this is a downward negative spiral that is going to continue to happen because once they realize they have less money, they'll stop spending more money, and then we don't get out of this any way soon or any way without having any hurt. So there isn't any good news there. It's only going to get worse, and neither one of the presidents can, whomever that may be, will get us that problem.
But don't you think there'd be civil unrest if the firefighters and police officers and teachers don't get their pensions?
Yeah, I mean,
they're not going to take that sitting down.
Well, okay.
Well, the argument is they've always said that I went to the public sector, and because I had some sort of dream I wanted to fulfill, a vocation, and I took less money, but I knew I'd get a great pension.
Right.
Well, unfortunately, it's not there. I mean, the sooner that these folks wake up to the fact that maybe 20% of it's going to be there, and if you're lucky, 30%, but you're not getting 100% of what you think is going to be there. Somebody's going to get shortchanged. So you start to have to live your life like it's not going to be there. And there's any number of reasons for that. We always know that the guys get the last 4 years their salary is always jacked up so they can retire on the most they can. I mean, people take advantage of it too. But at the end of the day, it's just not there. And yeah, there could be some civil unrest, or they have to realize that they're going to have to do something different, or they're going to be scooping ice cream at Dairy Queen until they're 98 years old.
Right. I mean, look, you can protest all you want. If the money's not there, it's not there. And because the public sector unions, particularly SEIU and AFSCME and the teachers unions, have been so intractable on the issue, maybe if you're a 40-something-year-old or younger member of one of those public sector unions, you should be looking at your leadership and asking some difficult questions of that leadership in terms of what you should rely on or should expect is going to be there in 10 or 15 or 20 years when you're nearing retirement.
Well, that's an excellent point, and I think Chris Christie, like him or hate him, ran into this problem in New Jersey. It is partly the overspending, obviously, of your legislators, but at the same time, you can't have your union rep come back after cutting a great deal and get slapped on the back about how well he's done for you when he knows full well that there's no money there, okay? So it's a 50-50 deal. 50% relies with the leaders that are cutting the deals, knowing full well that there's no money there, and then 50% of the legislators that spend the money that isn't there. So both people are culpable, and both people should be held up for it.
And we have some microcosms that serve as canaries in the mine shaft about this issue, don't we, with Stockton, California, and more notably Detroit?
Yeah, and I mean, you said some. I'll add to some of your figures. I mean, I think we lost 105,000 people to emigration last year. Number one in the state, number one in the country. We lost people. Now that means your tax base is shrinking. So your taxes are going to go higher on less people, and we lose more people. So there's less people. So you have to raise taxes again. I mean, watch this negative the cycle go lower and lower, and watch your property bills, your property tax double because of the very case that we don't have the property base, the tax base to pay for our bills. It's going to have to keep going higher until they stop this emigration. We lost more millionaires last year than there's only two other cities that lost more. I think it was Paris and Rome. And
yeah, that's
Chicago.
right. That's right.
So casino gambling,
unbelievable.
Casinos aren't going to bail us out of this? Because that's what they keep saying. Oh, we'll open up some casinos, and then that'll make it all go away.
Gambling and drugs. We run a mob economy here in Illinois, Scott.
Well, how about this? Nobody ever talks about this. We only talk about the problems. We don't talk about the actual sickness, okay? We talk about the symptoms. If we're doing well and growing at 4% and our state's really healthy, and this could be also said for the whole country, we don't ever have a talk about $15 an hour minimum wage, okay? Everybody's doing well. It's a non-event. We don't ever have a talk about legalizing marijuana for the tax purposes or casinos, like you just said, Amy, because it's a non-event. We don't need the money. We're doing well. So a symptom of a horrible economy is people protesting against or for $15 an hour, or protesting for the legalization of marijuana, or wanting some sort of casino to bail us out. But those types of things, they'll be drops in the bucket. It's not going to help any. I mean, like I said, structurally, we're almost to the point of no return, and mathematically, some folks have argued we are.
Speaking of the state of the economy nationally, Donald Trump, in his speech before the Detroit Economic Club the other day, kind of picked up where we left off last week, talking about the July jobs number, saying that 5% unemployment number is one of the great hoaxes in American politics. Is he right about that?
He's 100% correct about that. I mean, how can we have an unemployment rate from 10% fall to 4.9% all the while our our economy is shrinking. I mean, you just have to put the BS test up, okay? I mean, we're all grown individuals. We can just see something that doesn't make sense. If it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, come on. I mean, we had productivity numbers come out yesterday that were shockingly low. You know, we can't have 0% interest rates for 7.5 years and have home ownership at a 51-year low. Now, you're going to hear the talking heads all day today on TV, like they did yesterday, say that we touched an all-time record high in the S&P 500 index yesterday. Do any of the listeners out there have an all-time record high in their own home economic situation? It just doesn't add up.
Well,
so we've got. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, it's probably going to replace Joy Behar on The View. Scott Shalady, Fox Business News contributor. Scott, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
All right, see you. Thanks.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Coming up next, Tim Tebow may return to professional sports, but he's not playing football. We'll explain, but first, here's your forecast today. Partly sunny skies, plenty sunshine right now, but some clouds, a few of them by this afternoon, a high of 90 degrees. Hot and humid and sticky again tomorrow, though. More of the same intervals of clouds and sun, a high of 91. Let's get those travel times. Here's Dave Morrison, who's in for Jim Telemonte.
Thanks very much, Amy. We start off in northwest Indiana. Big troubles on the Indiana Toll Road near the Portage exit. All lanes are blocked off on both sides because of an eastbound truck fire near the Portage exit. Crews are on scene with that, trying to get it extinguished. Definitely want to take the Borman Expressway as a good alternate. Eden's 21 minutes either way between Lake Cook and the Junction. The inbound Kennedy is 30 minutes from O'Hare to downtown. Outbound is the same time. Inbound on the Ike, 47 from Thorndale to downtown. Outbound's 38. The inbound Stevenson's an hour 5 from 355 to Lakeshore Drive. Outbound's 45 minutes. Dan Wright inbound 95th to downtown at 26 minutes. I-57 inbound slow starting at 119th. The inbound Ford starts backing up at 103rd. Tri-State northbound slows 87th to LaGrange, Plainfield to the Hinsdale Oasis, and then 88 up to the Grand Avenue curve. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm David Morrison on AM 560, The Answer.
I'm Lou Dobbs. A new survey suggests Americans are glum about the economy. Burger King targeting Chipotle with a new menu item, and some college employees are filing lawsuits. Those stories next.
Bill Bennett here to tell you about Augusta Precious Metals. What if you could store your IRA or 401k where you can see, touch, and hold it in person in the form of physical gold and silver coins? I know I would, and you can't do that with stocks. With the Augusta Gold and Silver IRA, you can transfer retirement savings into physical coins and store them where you can actually see them. Free shipping, zero management fees, and Augusta pays all upfront costs. Getting started is absolutely free. Rated A+ with the Better Business Bureau. Enjoys a 98% 5-star customer satisfaction rating with TrustLink.org. Trust Augusta. Call toll-free 1-855-222-6993 now for your free guide to Augusta Gold IRAs. Call toll-free 1-855-222-6993. That's 1-855-222-6993 or visit AugustaPreciousMetals.com.
A new Pew Research study says Americans are glum about our economy, so are Europeans and the Japanese. But in China, India, and Australia, folks there are more upbeat. In America, the survey suggests only 44% rate the U.S. economy as good or better. The Labor Department's job openings and labor turnover survey will be released this morning, along with an update on mortgage applications. In class action lawsuits, employees of New York University, Yale, and MIT are suing their colleges over the handling of employee retirement plans. And Burger King is zeroing in on the customer base of Tex-Mex chain Chipotle, announcing the Whopperito, which packs Whopper ingredients into a flour tortilla. Please join me for Lou Dobbs tonight, 7 and 11 Eastern on the Fox Business Network. This is the Lou Dobbs Financial Report.
What's your caliber? Black Rhino Concealment knows many AM 560 listeners carry or plan to and want the best holsters. For concealed carry range practice for competitive shooting, Black Rhinos are comfortable and safe. Every holster is handcrafted by veterans of 100% virgin Kydex with American-made fasteners. From precision fit and finish to secure retention and quick draw, a Black Rhino is the finest holster at a modest price. Backed by a lifetime material warranty and workmanship guarantee, Black Rhino has tactical carrier and concealed carry systems for every caliber. You and your firearm deserve a Black Rhino. The Second Amendment protects our right to bear arms, and Black Rhino protects those arms. Black Rhino Concealment. We hold your caliber against you. I see what they did. Visit blackrhinoconcealment.com or call 847-783-6499 for showroom info. Use the promo code AM560 for a 10% discount on your first order. That number again, 847-783-6499.
When you hear the word chiller, the first thing that pops into your mind may be a frozen drink from your favorite convenience store. If you run a business or you're a maintenance engineer, you know of a different kind of chiller, the mechanical one that keeps you, your employees, and customers cool in the summer. And with this summer predicted to be hotter than normal, you don't want to get stuck on one of those 90-plus degree days with no AC. Better call Air Comfort and get your chiller tuned up and running at peak performance. A professional inspection can find small problems before they become big problems, and proper maintenance can keep your system from wasting energy and money. Air Comfort will make sure your equipment is clean and obstacle-free. And if your AC is about to or has stopped working, they can install temporary solutions to keep you cool while the long-term fixes are put in place. The key is preventative maintenance, and Air Comfort can help. Schedule a comprehensive assessment of your mechanical system today. Call 708-345-1900 or visit aircomfort.com. Air Comfort, providing the right climate for business since 1935.
AM 560, The Answer.
If you're talking about it, I'll be talking about it. Dennis Prager here. Join me this morning at 11, right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Are you watching? Oh, what Olympic events did you watch yesterday?
I didn't see much yesterday.
Oh, nothing?
Yeah,
Men's
it's a little
volleyball,
swimming.
fencing,
No.
swimming. Michael Phelps won his 20th and then his 21st gold medal. 200-meter butterfly, he took gold. And then the 4x200 relay, he won.
Thanks, Ryan Seacrest.
You're welcome.
I think listening to you talk about your ridiculous Olympic dreams has turned me off the Olympics.
What? That is so rude.
I know.
I've gotten you interested in women's volleyball, beach volleyball,
I was
and
already
court
interested
volleyball.
in women's
Oh, you
volleyball.
were? Okay, that's kind of what our 5th and 6th grade Blaine girls team looks like. It's pretty similar. If you wanna- so you,
I'm
you
sure.
don't need to go to a game. But the world...
By the way, just on a quick sports note.
Yes.
You have got to see the movie Gleason. This
Okay.
is the documentary about Steve Gleason, the former New Orleans Saints linebacker, a special teams player. Remember, he had the blocked punt, the iconic blocked punt, the first game in the Superdome after Hurricane Katrina. And then he was diagnosed with ALS in his early 30s. And it's the whole story of Steve Gleason. You think, hey, Dad, want to have a catch? You think that
Oh, I
turns
cried.
grown men into puddles of tears? You have not experienced anything until you watch this movie Gleason. I'm telling you.
All right.
It is.
Have you found your tear ducts?
It is uplifting. It is soul wrenching. It is brutal.
All right,
but
and
it's
called
really
Gleason.
good. It's
Okay.
called Gleason. So
Well-
little movie recommendation here in the save the aisle for us.
Can't leave out Katie Ledecky, 200-meter freestyle. She won 2 more golds. So we won 4 more gold medals last night. But the key thing is the women's gymnastics team. Have you seen Simone Biles? I heard her life story yesterday. She's being compared to the Michael Jordan of gymnastics. And when she was 3 years old, her mom, alcoholic, left them. Her dad was never in the picture. And her grandparents came to Houston and picked up her and her brother and her sister and raised them right and realized that she had a talent because she was bouncing off the walls at age 6. And they put her in a gymnastics program, and they won. Team USA won a gold medal, beat Russia by 8 points. It's
Well, you
huge.
can live vicariously through her. Speaking of the Michael Jordan of gymnastics, how about the Michael Jordan of baseball? Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow is back. He turns 29 this week, and he is doing a major league tryout. He's going to try and play Major League Baseball.
Wait, what pitcher or what position?
I don't know.
Wait, I have to find out.
He
was a quarterback.
He was also an all-state baseball player in high school in Florida.
Oh.
So it's very interesting. His statement from one of his agents. This may sound like a publicity stunt, but nothing could be further from the truth. I've seen Tim's workouts, and people inside and outside the industry will be impressed by his talent. So what about that? Tim Tebow playing a little baseball, where he doesn't have to throw so much, maybe a first base if he can hit. I wish Bill Veeck was still the owner of the White Sox.
Why? Because he would take him in a heartbeat.
Yeah, this is like Eddie Goodell all over again.
No, Bo Jackson did it, and Deion Sanders, remember? Well, they both played collegiately.
Yes, and they were both all-star caliber. Tebow is a great athlete, and I'm rooting for him. He's a good person, even more importantly.
Wait a minute.
And
he batted .494 as a junior in high school.
Big deal.
In 2004.
That's why he was all state, but that doesn't mean anything at the major league level. So we'll see, but we won't watch this. Tebow in a White Sox uniform. Why not?
Listen to podcasts of Dan and Amy. from the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Are you or someone you know facing foreclosure? Losing the family home? Well, you'd be not alone, so please listen to this. There are a lot of issues in a foreclosure, legal issues, factual issues. Dozens so far, and more coming to light every day. You see, people, we are in the aftermath of what will go down in history as the greatest financial crime in history, from which a lot of people profited immensely. And these people did not always do things entirely legally. That is a foregone conclusion. I'm Lou Bridges. I put together a law firm dedicated to foreclosure defense and to avoiding foreclosure by working with the banks, based on a thorough examination and analysis of all the potential issues and questions. And we have surrounded ourselves with people equally committed to this pursuit of justice.
Call 224-513-1231. That's 224-513-1231. Or visit FightIllinoisForeclosures.com. That's FightIllinoisForeclosures.com. Get real answers from a real foreclosure defense firm and discover the legal tools at your disposal.
Dan Proft here. Gentlemen, when it comes to your health, do you know your numbers? You may know your blood pressure and cholesterol numbers, but do you know your testosterone number? I know my number thanks to my friends at Low T Center. They made it easy. Walked in, took a simple blood test, got my results in minutes. If you've noticed a decline in energy, stamina, or libido, you may have low testosterone. Low T makes you feel tired and grumpy. It can raise your cholesterol and even cause weight gain. At Low T Center, treatment is covered by most health insurance. So, guys, do yourself a favor and do what I did. Find out what your number is. Call Low T Center now at 630-409-4305. Tell them Dan Proft sent you. That's me. The number again, 630-409-4305. Again, 630-409-4305. Or visit them online at lowtcenter.com.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies.
About 6 years ago, I was diagnosed with congestive heart failure. I went from being able to work 14, 16 hours a day with no problem to where I could barely walk a block to the store without having to stop and rest. I went on to the phytonutrients about 6 months ago, and within a couple of months, my medical doctor had cut my prescriptions down in a little bit smaller dosage. The next time I went back a month later, I walked into the doctor's office and he says, "My gosh, what's happened to you? You don't even look like the same person." He looked at my legs and the swelling had gone down. My blood pressure was down. The venous stasis ulcers that I had had on my legs for the last 4 or 5 years because of the poor circulation were all healed, and I'm feeling far better.
Call now to find out how to get your free month's supply of Balance of Nature. Call 800-2468-751 or go online to balanceofnature.com. Use promo code Chicago.
Oh, hey.
That's
I'm watching
Tim Tebow. Yeah,
I'm watching his batting practice right now.
He's not going to make it in the majors, according to Amy Jacobson's analysis. Batting stance too wide. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying, yeah. He's got to tighten that up a little bit.
Yeah, you know what? A lot of people have bet against Tim Tebow. You know what's happened to those people? They've largely been right.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Did a DNC staffer who was a source for WikiLeaks get assassinated at 7:07?
And later, hopefully, we'll go back to Blago. But first, let's go into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
Amy and Dan, there is a report out today from the Chicago Tribune saying Monday is the deadliest day in Chicago since 2003. We'll tell you why. The Illinois State Fair kicks off tomorrow while Metra calls a halt to its new rail car plan because of a lack of state funding. Maryville's Star Plaza Theater coming down, the hotel and the theater. Cubs and Sox winners, while another medal is in the works for Winnetka's Connor Dwyer at the Rio Olympics. Partly sunny, hot and humid today. High 90. WIND Chicago News Time is 7 o'clock.
Fox News Radio. I'm Dave Anthony. They were peacefully protesting in Ferguson, Missouri, 2 years after black teen Michael Brown was killed by a white cop, later exonerated, until a car hit a protester, badly injuring him. And then in a video Heather DeMayan posted on Ustream, gunfire. Though no one ended up being shot, the driver's cooperating. Police do not think it was intentional. The Justice Department is pointing a finger at Baltimore police after an investigation following Freddie Gray's death. Fox's Rachel Sutherland live in Washington.
Dave, a report that will be released today finds police violated people's constitutional rights by using excessive force and conducting unlawful stops, and that low-income black neighborhoods were overwhelmingly affected. 6 police officers were charged in Gray's death, which led to riots in the city. 2 weeks ago, State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby dropped charges against the remaining officers in the case after 3 were acquitted. Dave.
Rachel, Donald Trump has stirred things up yet again.
Hillary wants to essentially abolish
the Second Amendment.
And he said if Clinton is elected, she'll pick judges. There's nothing you can do. Then adding maybe for Second Amendment people there is. Democrats claim Trump is advocating violence. The Republican says, give me a break. He only meant gun rights. Advocates have political power. Clinton, meanwhile, has disavowed the support Sadiq Mateen's given her, the father of the Orlando nightclub terrorist. He was at a Clinton rally Monday saying he was invited. Her campaign says he was not. Michael Phelps remains king of the Olympic pool. Fox's Chris Honig live in Rio.
Dave, Team USA adding 4 more medals in swimming, including 2 more gold for Michael Phelps, bringing his career tally up to 21 golds, 24 total medals. Katie Ledecky adding her second gold of the games, and the women's gymnastics team also won gold. But security is being stepped up here after a media bus was hit by gunfire last night. Happened as it returned to Olympic Park from one of the basketball arenas. American journalists were on board. 2 people suffered minor injuries. Dave.
Chris, the U.S. leads the medal count at the Olympics so far. Fox News Radio, fair and balanced.
Mostly sunny and 75 degrees. 7:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. A lawyer for former Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich now says now that a judge has declined to lighten his 14-year prison sentence, he may again appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. Defense attorney Leonard Goodman saying Tuesday the decision of whether to appeal will actually be up to Rod Blagojevich. Gun violence continues to plague the city. The Tribune reporting 9 were shot and killed on Monday, making it the deadliest day since 2003. 10 others were wounded in shootings that same day, including a 10-year-old boy. A Chicago activist convicted of lying to get U.S. citizenship in Detroit is now resisting a government request for a mental health exam as she tries to overturn that conviction. Razmia Oda is a pro-Palestinian activist affiliated with the Arab American Action Network here in Chicago. The Metra Commuter Rail Agency is no longer looking for a vendor to build nearly 370 new rail cars because of a shortfall in state funding. Metra officials say Illinois has put on hold more than $300 million in funding previously budgeted for the agency's capital program. In addition, the state does not have a capital plan that would spell out how much money the agency would get in the coming years. Much of the agency's rolling stock is about 60 years old. Hotel officials say Maryville's Star Plaza Theater and its adjacent Radisson Hotel will come down, demolished next year to make room for a new hotel. White Lodging says the theater that has hosted entertainers from Liberace to Chris Rock will end its final season in April. Billionaire Dean White built a Holiday Inn at that site in 1969. Cubs beat the Angels 5-1. Sox over KC in 10, 7-5. The news a service of Burger King's Breakfast. What's the best place to have your breakfast? How about on a warm croissant? Right now at Burger King, get 2 Croissandwich breakfast sandwiches for just $4. Light, flaky croissant piled high with savory sausage or delicious thick-cut smoked bacon. 2 Croissandwich for $4 only at Burger King. Price and participation vary. 7:04 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Marxists, socialists, and communists forget the government doesn't have any money.
The Dave Ramsey Show.
Except money it took from someone who is producing money. Government creates no money. The only way the government has money is if it took it from one of us. And so the only way that it would have money to give these people is if it took more from the other people. Thus, Marxism, communism.
Dave Ramsey, weeknights starting at 7. Presented by Wintrust Community Bank on AM 560. The Answer.
If you want to work until you drop, reduce your standard of living in retirement, or lose more of your hard-earned money in the stock market, then just ignore me. But if you'd like to generate a steady, predictable income, I'm talking real wealth and financial security for as long as you live, then listen to this. A free report is now available that reveals the money-making secrets Wall Street and the banks don't want you to know. It reveals how you can get guaranteed growth, safety, and wealth-building power without risking your money in the Wall Street casino. To get your free special report, visit bankonyourself.com. That's bankonyourself.com.
This is an alert. If your business or church is building this year, you're about to pay more than you should. This could mean thousands of dollars more for your office, retail space, church, or warehouse. A General Steel building can save you as much as half the cost and time of similar conventional construction. And we're offering rebates of up to $20,000 to help you build today. Call General Steel for free information that could save you thousands. Call 800-98-STEEL. 800-98-STEEL. That's 800-987-8335.
7:06 in our Guardian Security Services Traffic Center. And in for Jim, here's David Morrison.
Thanks very much, Mike. We start off in northwest Indiana. Both directions of the Indiana Toll Road are closed near the Portage Toll Plaza because of an earlier truck fire in the eastbound lanes. They're still tending to clean up, but reportedly the truck has been extinguished. But delays are pretty big. You'll want to take 8094 as an alternate instead of the Indiana Toll Road. Eden, still about 22 minutes either way between Lake Cook and the junction. The Kennedy outbound's 35 out to O'Hare. Inbound 31 from O'Hare into downtown. Inbound on the Ike, an hour 5 from Thorndale. Outbound is 42. The inbound Stevenson's an hour 5 from 355. The trip back out is 47 minutes. Dan Ryan inbound 95th to downtown at 26 minutes. Inbound I-57 slows from 111th to the Ryan Expressway. There are no delays on the Bishop Ford right now. Lakeshore Drive southbound is tight approaching the Stevenson. Tri-State northbound slows from 111th to LaGrange, the Stevenson to the Hinsdale Oasis, and the Cermak Toll Plaza up to the Grand Avenue curve. Eastbound 90 from Beverly to Roselle and Meacham to Route 53. The eastbound Reagan is tight from Farnsworth to Eola and York onto the northbound Tri-State. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm David Morrison on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the AirComfort.com Weather Center. Here's our meteorologist, Kevin Snyder.
Partial sunshine today with a high 91 and a partly cloudy night, low 73. Clouds and sun tomorrow with a high 92. Heat index values of 97 to 102. Then tomorrow night, a late night thunderstorm, low 76. I'm Kevin Snyder on AM 560, The Answer.
Sunny and 76 at O'Hare. Really warming up along the lakefront now, 79. Next news at 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Power Trading Radio. Heard Sundays at 2 p.m. Brought to you each week by Online Trading Academy.
Good morning. Welcome to your Wednesday morning briefing. Here's what you need to know to start your day.
If she gets to pick her judges, nothing you can do, folks. Although the Second Amendment people, maybe there is, I don't know. But
if someone else had said that outside the hall, he'd be in the back of a police wagon now with the Secret Service questioning him.
Right now, Blagojevich is sentenced as if he had asked for envelope stuffed with cash.
We find his sentence unusually cruel and heartless and unfair.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. You're going to have to hold your emoting over Blago until the top of the 8 o'clock hour when Robert Blagojevich, his brother, joins us.
He was
programming note.
He was at the resentencing hearing last night. They're still estranged, but afterward he said, "My brother has a temper and says stupid things, but he's not a criminal." So we'll dive into that. And
he was 2/3 right.
Stop it.
This story is a bit bizarre. There's the story, and I'm not one for conspiracy theories.
Yeah, you think?
I don't get into the birther stuff. I don't get into the Vince Foster was murdered stuff.
You don't get into the Scalia was smothered with a pillow.
No, I do not. I like to go where the facts lead. It's usually with these unanswered questions and Occam's razor matter. The simplest explanation that contemplates the most variables is usually the truth. But Julian Assange has thrown a bit of a wrench into the works. Julian Assange, of course, from WikiLeaks. This is in relation to the murder of a 27-year-old Democrat staffer named Seth Conrad Rich. He was murdered in Washington, D.C. early in the month of July. The killer or killers took nothing from Mr. Rich, leaving behind his wallet, watch, and phone. It's unsolved. And there was some bubbling up about was he a source for WikiLeaks, and so could his murder have to do with the information that he was providing Assange, and also perhaps one other theory was that Rich, this kid who was killed, young man who was killed, was en route to the FBI the morning of his murder to speak to special agents about a case that may involve the Clinton family, the Clinton Foundation. So there's all this speculation and supposition, and I don't have evidence to support any of it, but it's interesting. And Julian Assange was on Dutch TV yesterday. And
what could go wrong? It's the Dutch.
Now,
I love the Dutch.
And a little just quick, let's remember, Julian Assange is not some heroic figure or intrepid journalist. In my estimation, let's not forget, he is kind of in absentia in fighting extradition to Sweden to face rape charges. Now, that doesn't mean he's not.
He said it was consensual sex.
Well, of course he did. No, I'm guilty. No, that's usually not how it happens. But the point is, it doesn't mean the information that's being funneled to him and then distributed through WikiLeaks is inaccurate. So here's Assange on Dutch TV mentioning whistleblowers and sources for WikiLeaks. And this former Democrat staffer was murdered, Seth Conrad Rich. He's brought up by Assange.
As a 27-year-old, works for the DNC, who was shot in the back, murdered just 2 weeks ago for unknown reasons as he was walking down the street in Washington. So
that was just a robbery, I believe, wasn't it?
No, there's no finding. So
what are you suggesting? What are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting that our sources take risks, and they become concerned to see things occurring like that.
But was he one of your sources then? I mean,
we don't comment on who our sources are.
But why make the suggestion about a young guy being shot in the streets of Washington?
Because we have to understand how high the stakes are in the United States, and that our sources are, our sources face serious risks. That's why they come to us, so we can protect their anonymity.
Oh, so he was the source of the leak, and he was murdered because of it. That's what I heard.
Well, that's the insinuation, isn't it? Yesterday, WikiLeaks offered a $20,000 reward for information on the murder of DNC staffer Seth Conrad Rich. What do you think about what Assange had to say? Do you think that we have... I mean, I call the Clintons, Clinton Inc., I call them Hillbilly House of Cards. This wasn't pushing a reporter in front of an oncoming train, spoiler alert, or pushing off the top of the roof if you saw the top of a roof, if you saw the original House of Cards, which you should see. But do you think there is smoke here, or is this just part of the vast right-wing conspiracy? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 646-36DA, turnkey.pro text line. You're fond of black helicopter theories, Amy. What do you think?
I sure am. What piques my interest is that they're offering a $20,000 reward for information about the murder.
Right.
Seth Conrad Rich. Nobody, of course, he was the email leaker. Because when has WikiLeaks got involved in pedestrian crime in the United States? He was murdered or shot during an alleged robbery. But was he robbed because they wanted to cover it up for an assassination? Possibly.
Well, he wasn't robbed.
Nothing
robbed. Was taken. He was just killed. And they said it was a robbery.
An attempted robbery? Okay.
But that has not been concluded. Now, this could also be, just to play devil's advocate here.
Please.
This could be something where it's a fake by WikiLeaks to, raise their profile, right? So let's...
Would they stoop to that level?
It could be a misdirection play. This is, international intrigue and global geopolitical matters and international politics. And this could be, the basis of a forthcoming Jean Le Carré novel. But you could say, here's a way for us to feint that it's Rich, even if he wasn't, and it's a way for us to build profile and further inject ourselves into the presidential campaign, too. I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Oh, but then Snoops, I don't know if you know Snoops.com, they're saying that he was gunned down on his way to meet the FBI.
That's Snopes.com.
Snopes, excuse me.
Welcome to the interweb.
I was thinking of Snoop Dogg. Bow.
Right, unrelated.
Snopes, excuse me.
Yeah. So, Snopes, more East Coast rap, where Snoop, of course, West Coast. That's how you distinguish the two.
Is that a reputable news information outlet? Because clearly I can't pronounce it, so I don't know if it is.
Snopes leans a little left, but I mean, yeah, they do the fact checking. But we don't know the answer to that question. And here's the thing, why this feeds conspiracy theories, and maybe there's something here in this instance, but it's Hillary Clinton and the hillbilly house of cards that she and Bill have run for 25 years. It's their lack of transparency. It's their obfuscations and lies and leveraging public resources for private gain and lying, and then lying about lying, that creates the kind of climate.
It's an atmosphere of distrust.
Well, and it creates a climate for conspiracy theories. So, I mean, think about this. Related story out yesterday as well. New emails show Uma, Mrs. Carlos Danger, scheming for Hillary. Another 296 pages of Hillary Clinton's emails released yesterday. And by the way, we don't know if the emails the FBI recovered from her private server that Comey referenced in hearings will be disclosed before the election. So we don't get the full story from them. We don't get all the information. It has to be piecemealed out, and only because of the great work of independent organizations like Judicial Watch using the Freedom of Information Act and pillaring government agencies to get this information. And then, you know, these emails, exchanges between Uma and aides show them scheming for Hillary with respect to donors, to the Clinton Foundation, and corporate interests. I mean, it's more of the same. There's nothing terribly new here. It's just a confirmation of what we already know to be true. But because there is not any forthrightness from these people, you know, it breeds the mistrust that breeds conspiracy theories, and maybe not every one of the conspiracy theories is without foundation. Sharon and Addison, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, I think it's very possible that this is what it is. If it walks and talks like a duck, you pretty much can identify it as a duck. I was reading this on Drudge Report, and it was out of Gateway Pundit when the news broke. And because the father had said there was no sign of a robbery, none of his personal articles were missing. I guess he had a watch on, money.
Right.
The wallet wasn't touched. It's just strange that in such a wealthy area like Washington, I know there's crime around there, but you know what? They're one of the best moving economically cities in our country right now. I think the guy's lights were put out because the Clintons have been in so many nefarious things. I can't even list them right now, but I believe that if it didn't come through Hillary, it could have come from somebody else farther down the command chain. I do believe the guy was assassinated.
Thanks, Sharon.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Oh, it's so sad. State legislators are complaining that they're not getting paid. We'll speak with Illinois State Comptroller Leslie Munger coming up. But first, here's your forecast. Plenty of sunshine today, hot and humid, a high of 90 degrees. And tomorrow, more of the same. A little bit warmer, a high of 91. We do have a chance, keep our fingers crossed, for some rain on Friday. Let's get into the traffic center and get the latest from Dave Morrison, who's in for Jim Talamonte.
We've still got some big problems in northwest Indiana, Amy. Both directions of the Indiana Toll Road are completely shut down at the Portage Toll Plaza because of an earlier truck fire in the toll plaza. Again, both directions are shut down approaching it. Outbound on the Edens is 25 minutes to Lake Cook Road. Inbound is 21. The Kennedy inbound 35 from O'Hare. Outbound 45 back out to the airport. Eisenhower inbound an hour 5 from Thorndale. Back out's 45. The Stevenson inbound is 53 minutes from 355. The trip back out is 45. Dan Ryan inbound 95th to downtown at 26 minutes. Inbound I-57 slowing down at 111th to the Ryan Expressway. And Lakeshore Drive southbound is tight from 18th to the Stevenson. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm David Morrison on AM 560, The Answer.
You always listen to AM 560, The Answer. You've heard all about Turnkey IT, Chicagoland's leading IT service provider for small business. Turnkey provides world-class support and customizable plans for businesses with 5 to 100 users. And with some of Turnkey IT's programs, you get all new equipment, free security, and antivirus protection. Sound great? Then why haven't you called Turnkey IT? There's really no excuse. Turnkey IT is setting you up with their best offer yet. Through the summer, all AM 560 listeners receive their first month of service for just $1. Your business will receive comprehensive coverage, including unlimited help desk and online support, network hosting, and antivirus protection its first contracted month for just $1. Ready to make the switch? It's easy. Visit turnkey.pro now. That's turnkey.pro. and tell them AM 560 The Answer sent you. Get ready to focus on the important things of your business and leave the technical stuff to the pros. Visit turnkey.pro today.
Hello, my friends. I am Professor Hans von Puppet. All right, here's the deal. My friends at IncomeStore.com do something that is absolutely too good to be true. What if I told you you could go into a store and buy how much money you would like to make next month? I mean, seriously, instead of going to the store to buy a candy bar or a laptop, what if you could go to the store and buy more income? What if you walked into the store and right down the shelf was an extra $500 a month or $2,500 a month of income? If a store like that existed, wouldn't that be insane? I know, right? Well, that store does exist, and you can find it at IncomeStore.com. I'm a professor, so let me repeat this for you. Your new favorite store to shop at is IncomeStore.com, where you can literally shop for an income. Listen, folks, these guys are the real deal. Watch the videos, and you will see how you can make some serious, dependable income. IncomeStore.com may seem too good to be true, but it's true.
AM 560, The Answer. Your money. Find out how to keep more of it and live debt-free. Tonight on The Dave Ramsey Show, starting at 7 on AM 560. The Answer.
Dan and Amy, speaking of your money, Democrat state legislators want your money, and they should get it before anybody else who's owed money from the state of Illinois gets it because they're more important than you. Don't believe me? Listen to State Senator Kim Lightford from West Central Cook County, Maywood area. Listen to her words on the Senate floor.
Final words for the comptroller. I know this is something that many of us think is taboo, we shouldn't say, but as legislators, we should get paid for the work that we do. And I think it's wrong for our income to be held for months and months and months, which is another game that's being played. So I hope the work that we're doing today would allow us an opportunity to continue to take care of our own homes. And I'm hoping the comptroller will decide and recognize that we're not vendors, that we're actually employees of this body, and we deserve to be paid.
Yeah, they're not vendors. They're the criminals at the top of the pyramid here, and they should get their money before social service providers, before businesses that have provided goods or services to the state and have gone months, how about years, without full payment from the state. $10 billion, approaching $10 billion in unpaid bills. But Kim Lightford says we want what we want when we want it. We shouldn't be in line just like the rabble. We should get our money first. That was followed up by State Representative Bob Martwick.
Oh, what did he say?
Another Democrat from Norridge.
Norridge.
Over by there. Yeah.
The jewels.
So nobody does a Martwick impersonation like you.
Thank you very much.
He accused Comptroller Leslie Munger of extortion and corruption for putting legislators in the queue just like anybody else in terms of state vendors or not. You know, these are the people that have Illinois with the worst credit rating of any state in the nation, with $212 billion in debt and $30 billion in assets. And Kim Lightford thinks it's the comptroller with no money playing games rather than the games she and her ilk have played for generations.
And what they do is they always blame the Republicans, too. They do.
Well, since the comptroller has been put in the crosshairs by Democrat legislators, why don't we talk to the comptroller? Happy to be joined again by Illinois State Comptroller Leslie Munger. Leslie, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy. Thanks for having me on this morning.
So you've been accused of all kinds of high crimes and misdemeanors against the good legislators in the General Assembly. What do you say to that?
Oh, how about that? It's really stunning to hear a lot of the comments that are coming out. And I'll say, you know, I've been battered by both sides of the aisle on this. But to be honest, I just feel like this is fundamental fairness. This is not extortion. It's not right for those of us who are elected to serve the people of Illinois to be paid before, really prioritized over our schools, our hospitals, social service nonprofit organizations serving people most in need, who have been waiting at this point now over a year for payment because we ran last year without a budget. We have doctors who serve predominantly state employees, some of whom are risking losing their practices because we haven't paid them in a couple of years. So it really speaks of a certain level of tone deafness, I think, on the part of the legislature.
So how soon do you think until they get paid? I mean, you do have one state rep who's now an Uber driver.
Oh, yeah, real sad story.
Real sad the sacrifice he has to make.
Representative Andrade, who voted against Uber as a state legislator, but now is enjoying the benefits of entrepreneurial capitalism. Another great story there from a Democrat legislator.
Well, I just think good for him for getting up and actually getting another job to help his family. That's what organizations and people all around the state have been doing, as we have been such a deadbeat state in paying them. To your question, Amy, the May paychecks, well, really what I did is you hear a lot about extortion and not paying the legislatures. We are paying the legislators. We're paying all the elected officials. And I'm to say my paycheck is in there, too. I just put those bills, those paychecks in line with all the other state bills. So everything is on the same delay that the rest of the state bills are. We are currently expected to be paying bills from the end of May, which is when the next May payroll check would come up, sometime in the next couple of weeks. The June payroll payment and end of June bills will be paid probably in October, is what we're estimating at this point. And we're looking, because of lower revenue period that we're coming into for the state, probably paying July bills and payroll for the elected officials, not until after the first of the year. So as we move into the fall, the delays are going to grow.
Well, and I mean, the sad sack story of poor State Representative Jaime Andrade, this is supposed to be a part-time job, being a state legislator, oh, by the way, number one. And number two, it kind of highlights that so many of these state legislators are not qualified to do anything other than be a state legislator, which is part of our political culture problem in this state. But I think it's important to note, Leslie, that this is not kind of playing games or just kind of artificially withholding payment by fiat. It's because you don't have any money.
That's exactly right. And we have currently in my office $8.1 billion of bills we have no money to pay on, nearly 55,000 invoices, bills, sitting there piled up waiting for payment. And we're not here because of 1 year without a budget. This is not a quid pro quo, pass a budget and I'll start paying you on time situation. This is a fact that we're out of money in the state. I have said it all year, and it didn't happen in 1 year. This is really decades and since early 2000s, spending money we did not have, passing budgets that were fundamentally unbalanced, year after year, have left us really with a very difficult cash management situation. And so, when for many months, I was prioritizing the payment of the legislature and the elected officials because I have to operate under a law passed by the General Assembly back in 2013 that they would get paid even in the absence of a budget. And I was following that law, but it's getting harder and harder to explain why we're all getting paid to all these nonprofits and organizations all around the state that were waiting months, if not, get even longer. And I really started thinking it's just wrong. It's wrong that we're getting paid and everyone else is not. So I think this puts us all on the same playing field. We're all walking in the same shoes. Some people have said, well, does this mean you have to be wealthy to be able to be in the state legislature? Like, absolutely not. We want people from all walks of life, out in representing people in our state. But you have to get there and do your job. And part of that job is to pass a budget that's balanced and to be a good fiscal steward of state resources and to not spend money we don't have. And we have had for a very long time people who did not do their jobs. And as a result, we're here today.
All right. Real quickly, do you think if you were a Democrat, if you belonged to that party, you'd be so heavily scrutinized?
I'm sure not. I'm sure there's a lot of reason why people are attacking me on this. But I think most of the people in the state are very grateful that somebody's actually finally standing up for them.
Yep.
All right. She is Illinois State Comptroller Leslie Munger. Leslie, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on this morning.
And she joined us on our Turnkey.pro answer line.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, Doctors Economos, Gevalis, Joshi, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidisciplined practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology, such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930. That's 630-830-4930. Or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
On AM 560 The Answer, we talk about the important issues that affect your world. Things like the economy, education, and foreign policy. There's always so much going on in the news that we don't always have the time to focus in and talk about the big ideas behind the important issues. Enter Upstream Ideas online at upstream-ideas.com. Upstream Ideas, in partnership with the Illinois Policy Institute, provides the kind of information that informs the policy discussions happening here on AM 560. At Upstream Ideas, you'll broaden the debate, move beyond partisan assumptions, and challenge accepted beliefs. Upstream Ideas goes against the current and thinks upstream. Go online now at upstream-ideas.com. That's upstream-ideas.com. You'll be armed with new information and fresh perspectives to help encourage you to make the state of Illinois and the United States of America a bit freer, a bit more just, and a bit more civilized. Upstream-ideas.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
Oh, I love this song. And I love Stephen Moore. He'll be joining us at 7:37 to talk about Trump's economic plans. And was Trump inciting violence against Clinton?
And at 7:47, does the B in BYU stand for bigot?
Oh. But first, let's go into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
Amy and Dan, good morning. Delta scrambling again this morning. Still trying to recover midweek from Monday's power outage that grounded all of its operations. Delta canceling 800 flights yesterday, nearly 100 more this morning as it tries to catch up and reset. Thousands of law enforcement officers from South Carolina and several surrounding states say this morning they could join a lawsuit in support of former North Charleston, South Carolina police officer Michael Slager. Slager faces murder charges, you may recall, for shooting an unarmed black man who ran away from a traffic stop last year. But he's also in a battle this morning with the police union, which is refusing to pay his legal fees. WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange is hinting that a Democratic National Committee staffer who was murdered last month was the source of leaked emails.
Others have suggested that. We are investigating to understand what happened in that situation with Seth Rich.
27-year-old Seth Rich was shot to death in Washington, D.C. before dawn on July 8. Assange went on to say that whistleblowers often take what he called significant risks to get material to WikiLeaks. House Speaker Paul Ryan, the easy winner of the Republican primary in his Wisconsin congressional district.
I want to thank my employers, the people I work for here in the 1st Congressional District, for hiring me to fight on their behalf. I simply want to say thank you very much for your confidence. I appreciate it.
Ryan crushed challenger Paul Nehlen, who received some support from Donald Trump. A lawyer for former Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich says now that a judge has declined to lighten Blagojevich's 14-year prison sentence, he may go on to appeal again to the U.S. Supreme Court. Chicago sports, Cubs over the L.A. Angels 5-1. Thanks to a Chris Bryant home run, Todd Frazier blasted number 31 in the 10th inning in the White Sox comeback win over Kansas City 7-5. The news service of Accountemps. Do you need accounting and finance professionals for the long term or reoccurring projects? If you prefer the same pro to handle your project through its duration, Accountemps' salaried professional service may be the solution. Call today or visit Accountemps.com. Accountemps is a Robert Half company. 7:34 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher, can't believe what's happening to the Clinton campaign.
But you want to hear how goofy the Democrats are right now? They want to blame the Russians for the WikiLeaks stuff. Here's the Clinton campaign manager, Robbie Mook, on CNN.
The Russians are releasing these emails for the purpose of actually helping Donald Trump. I don't think it's coincidental that these emails were released on the eve of our convention here. We also saw
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
Remodel your kitchen with Galaxy. Buy one cabinet and get one free with free financing and design services. Call 773-783-8300.
Lately, it seems you're not feeling quite right. As if your body is working against you. Dr. Amy and Associates can help create a path to achieve optimal health. Experience personalized health care for your mind, body, and spirit at a practice that blends holistic and traditional medicine.
I was involved in a devastating head-on motorcycle accident, which left me broken, battered, and afraid. I turned to Dr. Amy and Associates to care for my broken body. With their help, I healed quickly. I was able to sleep and the nightmare stopped. I was able to get back on the motorcycle without fear. Since they worked with my insurance, I've used them for allergy and food sensitivity testing, weight loss, massage, acupuncture, and life coaching. They use both Eastern and Western medicine and is a holistic practice like no other. I am so grateful for Dr. Amy and Associates.
Call Dr. Amy and Associates to experience a whole-person integrative approach to health and wellness. 630-980-1400 or visit dramyandassociates.com. Dr. Amy and Associates, empowering people, changing lives.
7:36 in our Guardian Security Services Traffic Center. In for Jim Talamonte this morning, here's David Morrison.
Thanks very much, Mike. Eastbound on the Indiana Toll Road still shut down between the Porter Lake County line and the Portage Toll Plaza, all because of an earlier truck fire. Delays begin off of I-94. Westbound, though, all lanes have been reopened as they're handling that that truck fire that's still in the eastbound lanes. Both sides of the Edens are slowing down. Outbound's 32 out to Lake Cook Road. The inbound trip's 21 from Lake Cook to the junction. Inbound to the Kennedy, 35 from O'Hare to downtown. Outbound's 47. Inbound Ike, an hour 10 from Thorndale to downtown. Backouts 48 minutes. The inbound Stevenson about an hour from 355 to Lakeshore Drive. Outbound's 42 minutes. Dan Ryan inbound 95th to downtown 26 minutes. Lakeshore Drive southbound is heavy approaching the Stevenson. Tri-State northbound heavy from Harlem to 47th, Ogden to 31st, and the Cermak Toll Plaza to the Grand Avenue curve. We still got delays on eastbound 90, eastbound Reagan, and northbound 355. This report sponsored by Amtrak. Great memories are made on trains, not in traffic. Experience travel the way it should be. Go from Chicago to Washington, D.C. for $78 with Amtrak Saver Fares. Book now at amtrak.com/saverfares. See where the train can take you. Restrictions apply. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm David Morrison on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the aircomfort.com Weather Center. Partly sunny today, hot and humid with a high near 90. 75 at O'Hare. Next news at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Turnkey IT, giving you the freedom to focus on your business while they handle the technical stuff. Turnkey IT.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. So before we get to our friend Steve Moore,
yes.
Yesterday, billionaire investor and big Trump backer Carl Icahn was on CNBC, and he essentially said that Trump kind of gets what's going on, and he's the right guy in the right place for the job at hand, because you can't have government at war with business.
Our country can exist when the government is at war with business, and that's exactly what we have. Just looking at a simple truth, and this is a simple truth. We have a massive problem, and Donald is addressing it. The Democrats are not. Donald gave a speech that was, to my mind, right on about it, and if he sticks with that economic theme, he should definitely win hands down, because I don't know why you wouldn't vote for him.
All right. We're happy to be joined, following up on Carl Icahn, by billionaire chief economist at the Heritage Foundation, Steve Moore. Steve, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hi, guys. By the way, I thought you don't need to have me on this morning. Carl Icahn said it better than I could. I mean, he was spot on. If Donald Trump will stick to that message that was given in that speech in Detroit, and I was there in the room with them and in that convention center. I mean, there was electricity there. I think he's just got to stick to that. Hit her on taxes, hit her on energy policy, hit her on regulation, hit her on Obamacare. If he will do that, he will win the race. I don't know if he will, but if he does, there's no question who's better able to handle jobs in the economy in this race. I mean, just no question about it.
Well, let me ask a follow-up. If I would have been interviewing Carl Icahn, he would have enjoyed it more, and I would have asked him this follow-up question to that statement about government at war with business. Okay, I accept the premise, but I want to make sure that the Trump remedy is not government in bed with business. And I wonder with Trump's big infrastructure proposal and some of his other offerings, particularly in the area of trade, if we shouldn't be concerned about that.
Well, Dan, let me say what was really good in the speech before I talk about that.
Okay.
I mean, I think that the most important thing for people to understand is that what Donald Trump laid out on Monday was taking America from being the highest tax country in the world on business to one of the lowest. And that's not just going to apply to big companies like Microsoft and Apple and General Electric, but even the small businesses that are the spinal cord of our economy. So that's huge. I mean, that will have an enormous impact on bringing jobs back to the United States. Taxes do matter. That's what I've devoted my whole life to. That's what Arthur Laffer and Larry Kudlow and other great economists taught me, that when Ronald Reagan, for goodness sakes, when you cut tax rates, you cut the tax on something, you get more of it. And we need more business. We need more job creation. And we'll bring those businesses back. And that really is the part of the speech that I worked on with Kudlow and others, and not just the speech, but the program. We think we have the best pro-growth tax program. And by the way, contrast that, Dan, with where Hillary is on taxes. She wants to raise the taxes on businesses. She wants to go nearly 50%. So here it is. I'm going to keep this very simple, Dan. We're at 15% on business. She's at 50%. Now, you don't have to be a PhD economics to understand which is going to create more jobs in businesses, a 50% tax rate or 15. Again, I want to keep it very simple for folks because I know, some liberals can't connect those dots.
Yes, we know this. But also, so there are 7 tax brackets and he wants to reduce it down to 3. Can you explain that?
Yep. We simplified the individual code, and the rates are lower. The average middle-class family will save about $1,500. So that's something a lot of people told us that. And just one of the really interesting little story that happened is, we're finalizing the tax plan, and who walks into the room and makes a suggestion, but Ivanka, and she says, we need something for working women in this plan, and she said, we've got to put in something on child care. And it was funny because there were 4 or 5 men sitting around the table putting this plan together, and I don't do child care. I don't know a lot about it. So we started asking around to women, and they said, this is something that's really important to us. And they said, look, why shouldn't we be able to deduct these expenses? And so, for working women out there who are driving to work now, you're going to be able, those child care expenses, you're going to be able to deduct those from your tax plan. So there's a lot of attractive features here. The main thing is we're going to cut your taxes, and Hillary admitted last week she's going to raise them. And it doesn't matter whether you're a Carl Icahn or you're Dan and Amy. You're going to pay more tax under Hillary.
I concede the point in the comparison, but I just want to make sure we're also eyes wide open with some of the component parts. First of all, from our...
you asked me about infrastructure, right?
Well, just holding there for a second. From our long history, I know that you're not necessarily a fan of a lot of these tax credits and special carve-outs in the tax code, but the child care one is okay?
I think you can make a case that you should be able to deduct if you're going to do what you're doing to prepare yourself to go to your job and to be on the job should be deductible. And so she made a strong case, and I was persuaded.
You don't say no to Ivanka. I hear you. I know.
Ivanka is very persuasive.
Yes.
I have to say it's hard to say no to her. But then on the there's the energy stuff and there's the regulation stuff. I'll tell you one quick story. I'm part of this Trump Leadership Council where we meet, once a month with very prominent business owners, people who run great companies in the energy area and the financial services area, banks, manufacturing companies, and they told us, they said, look, taxes are a big problem, no question about it. But they said the regulations are worse, and we got to do something to roll back the regs. And so, one of the cool things that we got in that speech was Donald Trump, the first day he's elected president, on the first day, within the first hour of getting into the Oval Office, we're going to have a stack of 50 executive orders of Barack Obama, and he's going to just sign each one. Boom, 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 boom. Repealed, 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 repealed. We're going to repeal all of those illegal executive actions that Barack Obama's put in place, everything from sanctuary cities to the 50-worker rule, for Obamacare. We can, you clear these hurdles to growth, and we can get to 4% growth. We're growing at a pathetic pace right now, and Hillary's running around the country like it's morning in America. It's unbelievable. This economy is sputtering.
Well, before you talk about executive orders, you got to get them in the White House first. And yesterday, I think he stepped in it again, Stephen Moore, saying that the Second Amendment people may be able to stop Clinton over her SCOTUS picks. Was he inciting violence against Hillary Clinton? And what do you do when you can't control the candidate?
No, he wasn't. I mean, I think he could have said that more artfully. He meant, the Second Amendment could create a movement to stop her. There's no group has more political power than the National Rifle Association and Gun Owners of America. So he was inciting. This is where the media just tries to incite. You talk about inciting violence. I mean, everything that he says, they kind of take out of context. He was saying you would get, if she tries to put people who are opposed to our constitutional rights on the court, there will be a movement that will develop that will try to stop her from doing that. No better group to do that than the Gun Owners of America.
Going back to what Trump had to say in his speech in Detroit, what about the construct of Americanism versus globalism? Are those two things really mutually exclusive?
Well, I too obviously believe in global trade, and I believe immigration is good. But I also do believe, Dan, that we've had a president now for 7 years who has not put America first. In fact, he's embarrassed by America. Every time he goes overseas, he apologizes to the United States. I mean, you see the perfect example of this in this crazy climate change deal where we shut down American energy, but they don't shut down their energy. We shut down coal plants and China builds them. How is that good for the environment or for the American economy? And I like this idea of a new. I think the theme of the Trump speech was a new American economic patriotism, where we're going to put the concerns of middle class Americans ahead of these wacko left wing ideas like worrying about the rise of the oceans. Let's put Americans back into jobs first, and the same thing with the trade deals. A lot of times these trade deals have not had American workers' interests at stake, and we're going to start doing that. That's not to say we're not going to trade. I got this line in the speech, by the way, where Trump says, we're not going to be isolationist. We're going to trade. Trade is good, but it has to be done in a way that is not going to destroy, the manufacturing base of this country.
Well, I'm glad you and Kudlow and Laffer are there to exert your influence. Keep doing it. Keep moving him. Steve Moore, Chief.
Now, let's see. Have I persuaded you guys yet? That's the question. Amy, are you there yet?
No, I like the daycare costs because that applies to me. So thank you, Ivanka, and thank you for listening to Ivanka Stephen Moore.
All right, you see, we're making some progress. That's why I do this show every Wednesday morning, because, Amy, you're my one-person focus group. If we win your vote, we win this election.
Well, you got to get those highly educated white women like Amy. Steve Moore.
That sounded condescending.
Steve Moore, Chief Economist at the Heritage Foundation and Trump Economic Advisor. Steve, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hi, guys. Have a great day.
Thanks. And we want to remind everyone that Stephen Moore will be at Freedom Summit Chicago 2016. Again, it's happening Saturday, October 29th, and the lineup is bigger and better than ever. Former Florida Congressman Lieutenant Colonel Alan West will be there. Keynote lunch speaker will be Michelle Malkin. Also, Stephen Moore will appear, Mike Gallagher, and we'll all be there. So to pick up your tickets, get it now. Do this. Go to freedomsummitchicago.com. Tickets starting at $29, and premium tickets include premium reserved seating, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So don't miss out. Go to freedomsummitchicago.com. And Stephen Moore joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today.
Oh, BYU and what it really stands for. But first, here's your forecast. Sunshine right now, hot and humid, high of 90. More of the same for tomorrow. We could have a shower around here, hopefully sometime Friday afternoon. But now let's see if there's any hopeful news on the roadways. Here's Dave Morrison, who's in for Jim Telemonte.
We still have some issues in northwest Indiana, Amy, but the good news is the westbound Indiana toll road has been reopened between State Road 49 and the Portage Toll Plaza from an earlier eastbound truck fire. Unfortunately, eastbound still blocked between Porter and the Porter Lake County line and the Portage Toll Plaza. They're still handling cleanup of the extinguished truck fire. Eden's inbound 21 minutes, Lake Cook to the junction, outbounds 32 back out to Lake Cook. Kennedy inbound 35 from O'Hare, outbounds 50 minutes. The Eisenhower inbound an hour 20 now from Thorndale to the post office. The reverse commute takes 56 minutes. Stevenson inbound still an hour from 3:55. Outbound is 42 minutes. Dan Ryan inbound 95th to downtown at 26. Lakeshore Drive, both directions tight through Grant Park. Tri-State southbound heavy Route 120 to Route 176. Northbound from Harlem to 47th. Ogden to 31st and the Cermak Toll Plaza to the Grand Avenue curve. Eastbound Jane Addams, heavy Beverly to Roselle. Elmhurst to Lee, westbound from 53 to Roselle. We still got delays on the eastbound Reagan and northbound 355 as well. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm David Morrison on AM 560, The Answer.
Oh, I love my Solatube. It's so simple that it's genius. In only 2 hours, it transformed the darkest room in my home. Now, you've heard me talk about Solatube and this amazing technology. A simple little roof dome captures sunlight, then reflective tubing transfers that sunlight into brilliant daylight that fills your home. It takes, again, only 2 hours to install, and there's a lot of beautiful options to choose from, and it's affordable. Prices start under $800, and the natural lighting truly brightened my room, and it seems so much bigger. So I highly recommend that you brighten your home with natural light by using Solatube daylighting systems. Call my friend Katie at Chicago Skylight Pros, a Solatube premier dealer. For your consultation, call Katie at 844-789-SHINE. Mention me and receive $75 off your first Solatube. That's 844-789-SHINE, or visit ChicagoSkylightPros.com. View the video and see the amazing before and after pictures. That's ChicagoSkylightPros.com. ChicagoSkylightPros.com.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
If you think all banks are the same, it's time to think about Signature Bank Chicago. I'm Pete Olson, head of commercial banking at Signature Bank, where the people who own the bank operate the bank. Not in an abstract way, but in the same hands-on, personalized way that you run your business. We don't rely on a legion of business developers to find new relationships. We don't trust an outsourced phone bank to address your customer service needs, and we don't delegate decision-making to some anonymous credit committee that you'll never meet. We do everything we can to help you succeed, because if you don't succeed, we don't succeed. Call us today to see the Signature Bank difference.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. Learn more about turning your business vision into reality. Visit signature-bank.com. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hey, you've heard me talking about my good friends at Guardian Security Services for a few months now. And if you haven't called them yet, what are you waiting for? If you're unhappy with your door staff or on-site security officers at your gated community or residential high-rise, man, don't tolerate it. And certainly don't renew your contract for 2017. Instead, get a quote from Guardian Security Services. I put my name behind these guys because I love them and I really trust them. They only assign the most professional, highly trained door staff and security officers in all of Chicagoland. Schedule a free security assessment with my friends at Guardian Security Services. Get a contract quote for next year. Right now, call 708-385-3300. That's 708-385-3300. Tell them me, Joe Walsh, sent you. Or go online at GuardianSecurityInc.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
So, does the B in BYU stand for bigot? First they came for the Christians, now the Mormons.
Who's they and who's going to get them?
You will be forced to comply. You will be forced to care. The Big 12 Conference looking to expand, and a LGBT MNSOPQW athlete ally sent a letter to Big 12 administrators calling on them not to admit BYU to an expanded Big 12 because of the discriminatory policies BYU practices, as a religious institution.
A Mormon institution. Yeah.
Right. For example, they don't allow same-sex married couples in university housing.
No, they don't.
And the Utah Anti-Discrimination Act exempts religious institutions. They also make comment in the school's honor code about homosexual behavior being inappropriate and in violation of the honor code.
And an openly gay individual can't be a BYU coach or athlete.
So the school spokesman, Kerry Jenkins at BYU, said BYU welcomes as full members of the university community all whose conduct meet university standards. We're very clear and open about our honor code, which students understand and commit to when they apply for admission, except for Jim McMahon. One stated sexual orientation is not an issue. So should BYU be forced to yield to what those outside of BYU want them to do? Should they be forced to compromise their religious beliefs?
No. I'm a traditionalist in that sense. No, I do not believe. But I did make a mistake. You can be gay, but you have to practice chastity.
Right.
So that's, they're not being discriminatory. It's just that you've got to abide by their standards, and I don't think they should cave.
But
when
everybody has to abide by the humanist, secular standards of the totalitarian left, that's not discrimination?
You're listening to Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer. And now, a moment of objectivism with your Ron Brook and the Ayn Rand Institute.
If you've been to the grocery store lately, you've probably seen the word GMO. GMO stands for genetically modified organism. A GMO is a plant improved by science. From corn to papayas, scientists are using the technology of genetic engineering to give plants desirable traits, solving problems that farmers have faced for millennia faster and more precisely than ever before. Even if you've never heard of GMOs, chances are you ate one for breakfast. It's estimated that 80% of food on the grocery store shelves contains ingredients grown from biotic seeds. But despite its success, the technology of genetic engineering is under attack by activists who spread misinformation and foster consumer mistrust. For more information, check out the Science and Industrialization section of the ARIRadio.com blog. From the Ayn Rand Institute, I'm Ron Brook.
This has been a moment of objectivism from the Ayn Rand Institute. To learn more, listen to the Yaron Brooks Show, Saturdays at 4 on AM 560, and visit ARIRadio.com.
Why are Ayn Rand's ideas so compelling? Her worldview, her philosophy, expressed dramatically in her novels Atlas Shrugged and The Fountainhead, embodies the ideals stated by the Founding Fathers in the Declaration of Independence and sets forth the requirements necessary to achieve a flourishing life. She called her philosophy objectivism and said it was a philosophy for living on Earth. Today, decades after her death, objectivism continues to stir debate and inspire passion for the spirit of individualism and the enduring American dream.
This is Dan Proft with 60 Seconds of Sanity. We can eliminate Islamist terrorism with love, sweet love. It's the only thing that there's just too little of, according to Attorney General Dionne Warwick. And we can eliminate gun violence by turning emojis into plowshares, according to Apple CEO Tim Cook. As part of its new iPhone operating system, Apple has replaced its pistol emoji with a lime green squirt gun. Call it sensible emoji control. It's just an emoji, yes, and Tim Cook has every right to dumb down his smartphone as his contribution to the left's woozy, zero-tolerance dream world, where even his water gun could get a kid expelled from school, but is emblematic of the left's proclivity for preemptive intellectual disarmament in the face of violence perpetrated in the hood or by those wearing hoods. Tim Cook's wealth insulates him from the barbarism his sentimentality represents and begets. Tim Cook never has to worry about his physical security. He's got an app for that. And it affords him the luxury of being very cavalier when it comes to your security. So take Apple's advice and think different from its CEO, as the unsafest places in America are between the ears of leftist elites like Tim Cook.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies.
I'm telling you right now, it's awesome. I was trying to get my blood pressure regulated, okay? And after 3 days of taking this thing, my blood pressure went back down to normal. I am ecstatic. I am so happy with this stuff. It is my savior.
Well, I had back pain for the last 40 years. 4 days after I started taking this stuff, it's gone.
This was the first summer that I have not had to have a steroid shot to help me to breathe.
The reason why I'm taking it because I've got Hep C. Once I began taking your stuff, it took a few months, but believe it or not, my liver enzymes are way down and it's normal now. It works.
Call now to find out how to get your free month's supply of Balance of Nature. Call 800-2468-751. That's 800-2468-751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com.
Use promo code CHICAGO.
Coming up next, Rob Blagojevich joins us, but first, here's Mike Scott.
A judge denies a sentence reduction for Rob Blagojevich, and the Cubs and Sox are winners. WIND Chicago News Time, 8 o'clock.
Fox News Radio, I'm Dave Anthony. What did Donald Trump mean when he said this about Hillary Clinton?
If she gets to pick her judges, nothing you can do, folks. Although the Second Amendment people, maybe there is, I don't know.
Well, Democrats say that's dangerous talk. He says, no, it isn't. Fox's Rachel Sutherland live in Washington.
Dave Trump says his statement referred to the gun rights political movement and had nothing to do with violence.
There can be no other interpretation. Even reporters have told me, give me a break.
The Clinton campaign says a presidential candidate should never suggest violence in any way. Running mate Tim Kaine.
I just think it is a window into the soul of a person who is just temperamentally not suited to the task.
Speaking after his primary win last night in Wisconsin, House Speaker Paul Ryan said Trump's statement sounds like a joke gone bad, but you should never joke about that. Dave.
Regional Delta still having trouble canceling or delaying more than 400 flights again today. Continued ripple effect from Monday's computer problems. A car turned a peaceful protest chaotic in Ferguson, Missouri last night. Fox's Jeff Manasso has more live.
Dave, a peaceful demonstration last night in Ferguson, marking 2 years since the justified police shooting of Michael Brown, and a protester was hit by a car, which later led to this. All those bullets, and we're told no one was hit. Police say the driver is cooperating. No word on the condition of that protester and no arrests yet, Dave.
Jeff, the Justice Department is accusing Baltimore police of routine discrimination against black people in a probe that came after Freddie Gray's much protested death. A woman was killed in Punta Gorda, Florida's police headquarters by accident yesterday. She was playing bad guy in a Citizens Academy role-play exercise when she was shot by a live round instead of what was supposed to be blanks.
The Punta Gorda Police Department realizes that our community will have many questions about this incident.
Police Chief Tom Lewis says he's devastated. The woman killed was a librarian. Fox News Radio, fair and balanced.
Mostly sunny, 75 degrees at 8:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. 4, including a 17-year-old girl, are recovering following a shooting in Evanston. Police say the group was shot last night near Foster and Jackson. Authorities are on the lookout for the shooter. Rod Blagojevich's attorney says he's hopeful the ex-governor appeals his new corruption sentence all the way to the Supreme Court again. AM 560's David Stewart reports a federal
and
judge
they obviously
Tuesday
love their father.
refused to reduce Blagojevich's
very
14-year
saddened
term.
by the bad hand that they've been dealt.
The decision not to cut the sentence, even though 5 corruption counts have been overturned, disappointed Blagojevich's wife, Patty.
I'm dumbfounded and flabbergasted at the inability for the judge to see that things are different than they were 4.5 years ago.
Attorney Len Goodman said at some point the courts have to realize that seeking campaign donations is not the same as asking for a bribe.
He asked for campaign contributions so that he could push his agenda for the people of Illinois.
What are we telling our people? What are we telling our children? This man gets 14 years for not getting one dime of political corruption money.
Prompting a call for a total
right now,
overhaul of the city's animal care and control operation.
Is sentenced
Don Levin,
as
board
if
chairman of the
he
Chicago
had asked
Bulls
for
hockey team and an animal care
envelope stuffed with
supporters,
cash.
angered to hear that another dog died recently at the city shelter. The latest in
I'm
a
so proud of my daughters.
unexplained deaths.
They didn't have to say
Levin has
anything.
already given
It's
$1
clear
million to
that
upgrade the
it
city's
didn't make
animal
any
care
difference
department,
what
and
they
he
said.
wants
They could have delivered it
The newly elected
Broadway
mayor of
style.
London coming to Chicago next month.
We find
Manuel's office says that
his
he planned to
sentence
visit the city
unusually
from September
cruel
15th through
and
the
heartless
17th, his first
and unfair.
to America. Cubs over the Angels 5-1. White Sox top Kansas City in 10-7-5. The news service of 7-Eleven. Chill out this summer at 7-Eleven with a refreshing ice-cold Big Gulp and try a classic chicken sandwich or their new quarter-pound classic cheeseburger for $1.99 only at 7-Eleven. 8:04 time for the AM 560 Business Beat. And from the Fox Business Network and a service of Turnkey.pro, Here's Jenny Casola.
From the Fox Business Network, Walt Disney is following its ESPN cord cutters to digital streaming. The company's investing $1 billion in Major League Baseball's streaming company BAMTech and will launch a new digital version of ESPN later this year. Kevin Kelly of Recon Capital says cable companies are losing customers to streaming.
This is a really big deal because they're already down to about 88 million subscribers when it comes to ESPN. That's their big cash cow.
Nielsen, the research company, says ESPN has lost more than 3.5 million cable subscribers just in the past year. Eli Lilly says an experimental treatment for breast cancer has failed to meet its goals in a recent test. Coach will be selling fewer of its luxury purses in department stores. It was concerned that the stores were offering deep discounts. The Dow closed up 3 points yesterday, NASDAQ up 12 to a record, S&P added a fraction. With the Fox Business Report, I'm Jenny Cosola.
8:05 in Chicago. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
It's back. The biggest conservative event in the Midwest returns this October. It's Freedom Summit Chicago 2016, October 29th in Itasca, featuring Alan West, Michelle Malkin, Mike Gallagher, Stephen Moore, Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, Joe Walsh, and many more. Tickets start at just $29. Order your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Air Comfort, the Ayn Rand Institute, and by healthinsurancementors.com.
If you want to work until you drop, reduce your standard of living in retirement, or lose more of your hard-earned money in the stock market, then just ignore me. But if you'd like to generate a steady, predictable income, I'm talking real wealth and financial security for as long as you live, then listen to this. A free report is now available that reveals the money-making secrets Wall Street and the banks don't want you to know. It reveals how you can get guaranteed growth, safety, and wealth-building power without risking your money in the Wall Street casino. To get your free special report, visit bankonyourself.com. That's bankonyourself.com.
This is an alert. If your business or church is building this year, you're about to pay more than you should. This could mean thousands of dollars more for your office, retail space, church, or warehouse. A General Steel building can save you as much as half the cost and time of similar conventional construction. And we're offering rebates of up to $20,000 to help you build today. Call General Steel for free information that could save you thousands. Call 800-98-STEEL. 800-98-STEEL. That's 800-987-8335.
8:06 and a check of the roads in our Guardian Security Services Traffic Center. In for Jim, here's David.
Thanks very much, Mike. Eastbound on the Indiana Toll Road still closed between the Porter-Lake County line and the Portage Toll Plaza. There was an earlier truck fire at the toll plaza. It has been extinguished. Traffic is diverted at Lake Station. Delays begin at I-94. Good news is westbound is open but slow between State Road 149 and the Portage Toll Plaza. Eden's inbound 20 minutes, Lake Cook to the junction. Outbound is 40. The inbound Kennedy 37 from O'Hare. Outbound is 50. Inbound to the Eisenhower an hour 20 from Thorndale to downtown. The trip back out is 56 minutes. Stevenson inbound is about an hour 5 from 355. Outbound's 45 back out to the north-south tollway. Dan Ryan inbound 95th to downtown at 25 minutes. Lakeshore Drive southbound's backed up Belmont to Fullerton, and then both sides are slow through Grant Park. Tri-State northbound on the brakes 87th to the Hinsdale Oasis, Ogden to 31st, and Roosevelt to the Grand Avenue curve. The eastbound Reagan is slow from 31 to Eola, Winfield to Washington, 83 to the Tri-State. We still also have delays on the Jane Addams, Route 53 and 355. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm David Morrison on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the aircomfort.com Weather Center, providing the right climate for business. Since 1935, here's our meteorologist Kevin Snyder.
Today, partly sunny, hot and humid, high 91. Partly cloudy, warm and humid tonight with a low 73. Tomorrow, hot and humid with intervals of clouds and sunshine, with a high tomorrow of 92 and a low of 76. I'm Kevin Snyder on AM 560, The Answer.
75 at O'Hare. Next news at 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by On Target Radio, the show dedicated to the red meat issues, including gun control, privacy, and freedom of speech. Heard Sunday nights at 9 p.m.
Good morning. Welcome to your Wednesday morning briefing. Here's what you need to know to start your day.
If she gets to pick her judges, nothing you can do, folks. Although the Second Amendment people, maybe there is, I don't know. But
if someone else had said that outside the hall, he'd be in the back of a police wagon now,
with the Secret Service questioning him.
Right now, Blagojevich is sentenced as if he had asked for envelope stuffed with cash.
We find his sentence unusually cruel and heartless and unfair.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Well, the sentencing of Blagojevich, so Judge Zagel deciding not to reduce his sentence, is that cruel and unusual and heartless and unfair, as Patty Blagojevich, Rod's wife, described it?
As many people have described it, because no matter how you feel about Blagojevich, everybody has an opinion about the sentencing and the resentencing. So Judge Zagel kept the governor's sentence right where it was, 14 years in prison, to the surprise of many, I believe, in the courtroom. Patty, Amy and Annie broke down and started crying, and then Rod stood up, and it was really heartbreaking. I mean, he stood up and he showed emotion, which is something that I have never seen personally. And he had wiped his eyes when Annie was talking. He had wiped his eyes. I couldn't tell whether or not he was crying, but it was an emotional day. And
you were in the courtroom as an honorary member of the Blagojevich family.
No. As a reporter, but moved over to the overflow room because the videotaping, the Skylink between Rod and the courtroom was much clearer. It was pixelated in front of Judge Zagel. So it was an emotional day. And somebody else who was there was Robert Blagojevich, who was happy that Rod hasn't lost his bond with his children.
What are we telling them?
And they obviously love their father. I'm very, very saddened by the bad hand that they've been dealt.
And he mentioned yesterday, too, there's a great disparity of equal justice in this country.
Well, I guess Judge Zagel, by the way, is not there to represent the family. He's there to represent Illinois taxpayers and represent the justice system as an officer of the court. So I guess you can count me in the category of cruel and heartless and all of those other pejoratives that Patty offered, because I think he's still convicted of 13 felonies. He deserves the sentence that was imposed, particularly in the context in which it was imposed, coming after George Ryan and the despicable, kleptocratic, banana republic political culture of this state. So I know there's divided opinion on it. And we're happy now to be joined by the aforesaid Rob Blagojevich, brother of Rod Blagojevich, and also the author of a book that was released last year, Fundraiser A, My Fight for Freedom and Justice, because, of course, you'll remember Rob was indicted with Rod in the first trial, and ultimately the U.S. attorney chose not to retry him in the second trial, which I also agree was the right decision. Probably should have never been tried in the first place. But Rob Blagojevich, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate your time.
Good morning.
So we heard a little bit of your reaction with respect to the family. But what about with respect to people who say, look, Rod Blagojevich, your brother, committed these crimes. He was duly convicted of these crimes at minimum. And so he deserves, particularly in the context of following a governor who went to prison, a severe sentence, and the severe sentence that he received.
It's a very complex answer that I can give you, but I'm not going to because I'll bore your listeners. But I can tell you that having been on trial in federal court, the government has incredible latitude and ability to use very vague laws and twist and turn evidence in a way that can make anybody guilty, especially if you wiretap someone for 400 hours. But with regard to my brother's reinstatement of 14 years, as I said yesterday, and I've been saying now for 5 years, that there is a great disparity of justice in this country. When you have a man like Jesse Jackson Jr., who sent emissaries to me offering bribes for the Senate seat, and the FBI and the Department of Justice knew this and let him get away with that. And then when he subsequently found guilty of stealing $750,000 of his constituents' money and only gets a year and a half, he's already been in and out during the 4 years that my brother's been incarcerated. I can just say to you that there is a fairness shortfall in the system. And purely from a fairness standpoint, I strongly believe that Judge Zagel should have shown a little humanity and compassion in reducing my brother's sentence somewhat. Despite what you might think of him, he is a man. He's been disgraced. He's been through all kinds of travails that no average American has been through. And it sounds as though he's been a model prisoner and done good works, and he's learning his lesson. And I think that's got to have some short-term benefit in terms of reducing his sentence. And none of that was present yesterday. Very disappointing.
And you said yesterday after the hearing that my brother has a temper and says stupid things. And do you think that's what might have gotten him in trouble?
Again, my experience, having been wiretapped personally, the biggest fear I had, because I never did anything improper, and I was fearful of stupid talk.
Mm-hmm.
The government will take your words and they will cherry pick them and organize them in a way within very vaguely drafted federal criminal statutes that give them standing to indict someone. And so my brother is he's a stupid talker par excellence. And I can also tell you, Amy, that we went through all those tapes, and we noted over 50 times Rod saying on tape that he was going to do with advisors and other people, that he wanted to make sure whatever he did with regard to the Senate seat was legal and proper and right for the state of Illinois. None of that for sure didn't get into the first trial, and although I didn't attend the second trial, I don't believe any of that was admitted in the second trial. Only the harmful tapes were allowed. So, Dan, you can have your opinion, and I respect it, but there's a real breakdown here when evidence cannot be submitted in legitimate defense of an onslaught by the United States government, who were given a free hand by Judge Zagel to do whatever they wanted to and to play any tapes they wanted to, and omit the ones that could have been helpful to my brother.
Well, I agree with you to some extent about the tapes that were not played. There was a lot of rumors about some information that may be on those tapes, and I agree with you. They shouldn't be under seal. I agree with you that we should have heard all of them, and I agree with the defense in that sense that if there was exculpatory statements that Rod Blagojevich made, then they should have been included for the jury to consider. So I do agree with you there, but it is also worth pointing out he was not just convicted of felonies related to the quote-unquote sale of the U.S. Senate seat. That was not...
well, that's true. But the ones that I was charged on that the appellate court dropped, which were roughly 5, they included the Senate seat, they still retained one of those. And the judge referred to those yesterday, as did the government, of wanting to take a $1.5 million bribe. Again, this bribe originated with Jesse Jackson Jr., whose emissaries came to me.
Yeah.
And I told them emphatically, this is not going to happen, or I was going to do the right thing for Illinois. And then they took snippets of conversation to make it sound as though Rod was going to take a bribe, which in no way he was going to do.
Well, how much were they offering you?
Well, he just said $1.5 million. Well, Rob, and we're talking to Rod Blagojevich, the brother of Rod Blagojevich, and I've said this for years now, that the U.S. Attorney's Office has not given a responsible response to the question, if you have seller under surveillance, then why don't you wait till you have buyer and seller together and get them both, just as you would a drug transaction or any other type of a transaction that is of an illicit nature like that. So I agree that those are legitimate questions that are raised, but I want to just take one step back for people, because people's memories are hazy, that may not remember how you came to Illinois in the first place, because you're not an Illinois resident. You weren't prior to coming to work with your brother and to do fundraising for him. You kind of came out of the private sector as a corporate executive. And I just wonder, again, your perspective on Illinois and its political culture, your brother's contribution to that political culture, and now several years later, how you reflect on this state and your time in it.
When I came to fundraise for my brother, the agreement was 4 months in August of 2008 through December of that year. I had never done any political fundraising. I did a lot of community nonprofit fundraising here in Nashville, and had no real idea what I was in for up there. I was briefed to never take a quid pro quo, which means never, promise a governmental action in exchange for a contribution, which was pretty, evident to me to begin with. But it was enforced to me by advisors of Rod, and I never did, not even close. My favorite lines were, "No, I don't do that," and I even testified to the numbers of times that people in my process of fundraising for Rod very comfortably were advocating for something in return for money. And I said, I don't do that. And so there is a I guess, a standing sort of MO there of people expecting to get something in return for contributions. But if you look at our political system in general, you look at President Obama in particular now, since he is the president, you look at all the ambassadors that have been appointed, they're all big fundraisers. They've all contributed money. Arguably, that could be called a quid pro quo, getting something in return for a governmental action, an appointment for campaign contributions. But that's not illegal. And so it's a very confusing process for me to understand legally how there's a disconnect there. And now my reflection on all of it is, and I've been doing a lot of public speaking to colleges, law schools, civic organizations, and I'm asked that question, the question of, would you suggest, what do you recommend on young people going into politics? And again, having been sort of dark-colored in my view of the political arena there in Chicago, I still encourage people to pursue that if that's what their passions are, because we need good, honest people in government who are going to represent the people, protect our civil liberties, and keep this country strong. So I'm not in any way disheartened. I'm disappointed. I'm still angry because of what happened to me, and I have no recourse, but I've accepted it and I'm living with it. But I'm still hopeful that good people can come into the system and improve it.
Now, you haven't spoken to your brother, and last time you spoke to him was after his original sentencing. What's the discord? Why is there an acrimonious relationship between you and Rod?
As I said yesterday and numerous times, Rod and I are very, very different personalities. We have different approaches to life's problems and challenges, and he and I, on our way to trial in federal court in June of 2010, had some major disagreements on strategy and tactics, and things were said during, after, that, I'm prepared to get over and move on with. And in general, there's much more there, but in general, I'm ready to move on. I love my brother. I care for him. I'm empathetic for his circumstance, and I want nothing but good things for him.
All right. He is Rod Blagojevich, the brother of former Governor Rod Blagojevich. The book, Fundraiser A, My Fight for Freedom and Justice. Rod Blagojevich, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Oh, yeah. If Rod Blagojevich were a minority, would he have gotten such a harsh sentence? I say no. Your phone calls, too, coming up. Today, your forecast, though, mostly sunny skies, hot and humid, a high of 90. Travel times, here's Dave Morrison in the traffic center.
Everything's still pretty much looking slow on the area expressways and tollways right now. Checking in with Northwest Indiana, eastbound on the Indiana Toll Road still closed at the Portage Toll Plaza because of an earlier truck fire. Westbound is slow, but all lanes are open. Checking in with the Edens, outbound looks to be about 32 out to Lake Cook Road. Inbound is fine. The inbound Kennedy's 45 from O'Hare. The trip back out takes 50 minutes back out to the airport. Inbound Eisenhower, it's an hour 15 from Thorndale. The reverse commute takes an hour back out to Thorndale. Stevenson inbound an hour 5 from 355. Outbound's 45. Dan Ryan inbound 95th to downtown at 25 minutes. Lakeshore Drive southbound's backed up Belmont to Fullerton. Then both sides are slow through downtown. Tri-State southbound on the brakes from Eau Plaine to Route 176. Northbound's jammed from Archer most of the way up to the Grand Avenue curve. 90 eastbound from Beverly to Roselle. Gulf to Arlington Heights and Elmhurst to Lee is still slow. Westbound's jammed into Roselle Road because of road work. Still seeing delays on the eastbound Reagan and northbound 355. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm David Morrison on AM 560, The Answer.
Gentlemen, Dan Proft here. When it comes to your health, do you know your number? You may know your blood pressure and cholesterol numbers, but do you know your testosterone number? I know my number, thanks to my friends at Low T Center. They made it easy. Walked in, took a simple blood test, got my results in minutes.
I don't want to know, but all right, were they good or bad?
I'm all good. Hey, don't make me...
Everything's good under the hood. All right.
Don't make me make a Trump reference. Toots. So if you've noticed a decline in energy, stamina, or libido, you may have low testosterone. Low T levels make you feel tired and grumpy, can raise your cholesterol, and even cause weight gain. A Low T Center treatment is covered by most health insurance. So, guys, do yourself a favor and do what I did. Find out what your number is. Call Low T Center now, 630-409-4305. Tell them Dan Proft sent you. That's 630-409-4305. That number again, 630-409-4305, or visit them online at lowtcenter.com.
You desperately need workers. You don't have time to find them. Let us handle it. We did it 425,000 times last year. This is Terry Greeno. My company is Express Employment Professionals. We know how to find the right people for your business. If you own or run a business in McHenry or Kane County, let us be your partner. Be it finance, accounting, administrative, manufacturing, engineering, we've got you covered. We help make this critical part of your business better so you can focus on running your business. It's simple. We put great companies and great people together. If you own or run a business in McHenry or Kane County, give us a try. Find out why we are the go-to company for great employees. Check us out at expresshires.com.
Contact the go-to company for great employees in McHenry or Kane County. Contact Express Employment Professionals, 815-788-8556, 815-788-8556.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest-growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Mark Weingart, President and CEO of Star Creations, Inc., the fastest-growing supplier of wall decor products in the U.S. When it comes to banking, I don't want to be a small fish in a big pond. That's why I bank at Signature Bank Chicago. At Signature Bank, every customer is important. I know I can pick up the phone and talk to any one of the decision makers I know and trust at Signature Bank. At Signature Bank, they understand and respond to the unique needs of my business with flexibility and fairness. I'm proud to bank with Signature Bank because I know they're deeply invested in the success of Star Creations.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. Learn more about turning your business vision into reality. Visit signature-bank.com. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
AM 560, The Answer. See Alan West and Michelle Malkin at Freedom Summit Chicago 2016. Tickets are on sale now at freedomsummitchicago.com.
Dan and Amy, divided opinion on Blagojevich not seeing a sentence reduction. Let's go to Verlin on the south side.
Verlin.
How y'all doing?
Hey, Verlin.
Well, look, I've been saying from day one that Blago got a screw job. You know, I don't know if he had the goods on some people and they want to keep him in jail as long as possible, but he got a shaft. The going rate, the standard has been 6 years for all the governors going back 20 years or so. But
it's about time to upgrade.
He got a raw job. Now, to answer Amy's question, as far as if he was black or a minority, would he have gotten more time? I say he wouldn't have got more time if he was a minority.
Yep, he'd be out of prison already.
The reason why is because they got political connections there with the Democrat Party. You know, they got people that's going to look out for him, and they're going to get like a year or less, just like Jesse Jackson Jr. So that's the only reason why.
All right,
thanks. And you get done in, though.
Thanks,
Real quickly, you know, Judge Zagel was making an example, setting an example, warning other politicians, don't have corrupt, fraudulent behavior. You won't be behind bars. But I do believe that if Blago were black or Hispanic, he'd be set free. It'd be time served because no federal judge in this country is going to make an example out of a minority politician. I don't believe it. So they saw Blago. They said, you know what? We're going to put him in prison, give him the maximum time, well, almost the maximum time, to set an example.
And I would suggest that the context is more important than the race, and it was him following George Ryan and tripling down on George Ryan's shakedown schemes, and that generated double the sentence.
And what Judge Zagel said yesterday in court, he said, Blago, you ran on a platform to restore integrity to the governor's office, and you did not do that.
Yeah, that's just dicta. Matt in Fox River Grove.
Yeah, you know, if I was a Blagojevich family member, I would be really, really ticked off that they didn't let him out. I mean, when you look at what Hillary Clinton has done, she has taken tens of millions of dollars from countries that support terrorism. She's been involved in the deaths of Americans. She's put our national security at risk.
Matt, I know all that. I know all that about Hillary, and I think Hillary should have been prosecuted for the emails. But I don't understand what not prosecuting Hillary has to do with releasing Blagojevich. I just don't understand that argument.
Well,
and you know why? Because there's no logic to it. There's no logic to it because other people who have not been prosecuted should have been. We should open the jail doors. It makes no sense. It's
He's a nonviolent offender. President Obama just commuted the sentences of 200 plus people with nonviolent drug offenses. He should let Blagojevich out just because of that. He should pardon him for what he's done.
Sean
he should
from
on the
Menlo
way
Park.
out.
What would you do for 400 hours on Tony Resco? Or 400 hours of phone conversation?
Tony Resco went to prison, and Tony Resco was not. Wait a second. Tony Resco is not the governor of the state.
But only the corruptor went when it was Tony Resco. None of the politicians went. He went to prison because he was going to beef on his father-in-law, the capo of the crime family we call Chicago Democrats. He went to shut him up because he knew where the bodies are buried. Now, you can hate him as much as anybody does. That's fine. He was an absolute moron. However, you took 14 years out of this guy's life for something that's done every day by every politician. All of a sudden, we're going to prosecute to the full extent of the law. The law is used as a weapon by the people who corrupt our system.
And thanks for the call, Sean. And Blago's not one of them. I mean, this is the whole thing. So because it happens every day and everybody's doing it, nobody should get prosecuted. It's fascinating logic.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM 560 mobile app today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
A couple years ago, I had a severe accident which disabled my right hand and caused chronic pain and complete suffering. It took many years before really we figured out exactly what it was or how to treat it. My whole goal was I did not want to be on high levels of pain medicine. After some time, I went to see Dr. Kenneth Candido to try to figure out the source of the pain and a solution and how to solve it. He listens. I'm going to cry because it's so real. I've been through so much, and he wants to help his patients, and he's there for me whenever I need him.
This is Ken Candido of Chicago Anesthesia Pain Specialists. I have a simple message for you. If you or someone you love or someone you know has chronic pain, contact us. Treating chronic pain issues is what we do. We can make it better. Get an appointment and let's talk. MyPainChicago.com, MyPainChicago.com. All the info is available at MyPainChicago.com. Let's make you pain-free.
Oh, I love my Solatube. It's so simple, it's genius. In only 2 hours, it transformed the darkest room of my home, my upstairs bathroom, and has made it a beautiful, larger room. Now, you've heard me talk about Solatube and its amazing technology. The room dome captures the sunlight, then a super reflective tubing transfers the sunlight into brilliant daylight that fills your room. There are a lot of beautiful options to choose from, too, and it's really affordable. Prices start under $800, and the natural lighting truly brighten my home, and it seems so much larger. I highly recommend you brighten your home with natural light using Solatube daylighting systems. Call my friend Katie at Chicago Skylight Pros. That's a Solatube Premier dealer. For your free consultation, call Katie at 844-789-SHINE. Mention me and receive $75 off your first Solatube. That's 844-789-SHINE, or visit ChicagoSkylightPros.com to view the video and see the amazing before and after pictures. That's ChicagoSkylightPros.com. Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Former Blackwater CEO Eric Prince on the curious matters of the Iran ransom payment, as well as the murder of a DNC staffer. That's at 8:38.
And later, oh, silly little gopher. Just wait until you hear what happened to him on the course. But first, into the newsroom we go. Here's Mike Scott.
Dan and Amy, good morning. 76 degrees. Delta flyers facing more headaches and cancellations today. More than 150 flights have been scratched so far, in addition to the 800 knocked off the board yesterday and 1,000 canceled Monday. Some good news about Zika today. It's word from the Food and Drug Administration approving something called the Intercept Blood System for use in the U.S. The chief medical officer at the biomedical products company Cirrus says it will protect the blood supply from people with Zika who may donate blood.
It acts by targeting the DNA or RNA that's in the virus and essentially cross-linking and inactivating it so it can't divide.
No one hurt in Ferguson, Missouri after gunfire erupts at a protest on the anniversary of Michael Brown's death. Yesterday was the second anniversary of the teen's death at the hands of a local police officer. Many peaceful gatherings were held. Gunfire erupts at 1 after a driver struck a protester who walked into the street. A Kansas water park where a young boy was killed last weekend scheduled to reopen today. However, officials at the Schlitterbahn Water Park in Kansas City say the Verrückt water slide will remain shut down for the rest of the season. 4, including a 17-year-old girl, recovering following a shooting in north suburban Evanston. The death of a pit bull at a Chicago dog pound has prompted a call for a total overhaul of the city's animal care and control operation. Cubs over the Angels 5-1 last night, while the Sox knocked off Kansas City in 10. The news service of Aruba Tourism. Aruba is your shortcut to relaxation. Unwind with Aruba's cooling trade winds. Bask in the crystal blue Caribbean. Hop a short nonstop flight from O'Hare to one happy island and plan your shortcut to happiness today at Aruba.com. 8:34 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher can't believe what's happening to the Clinton campaign.
But you want to hear how goofy the Democrats are right now? They want to blame the Russians for the WikiLeaks stuff. Here's the Clinton campaign manager, Robbie Mook, on CNN.
The Russians are releasing these emails for the purpose of actually helping Donald Trump. I don't think it's coincidental that these emails were released on the eve of our convention here. We also saw
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 on your mobile device. Now available on iHeartRadio. Online at iHeartRadio.com.
What's the difference between an ordained minister and a minister who is commissioned? This is Law and Justice with Jay Sekulow.
Our bylaws are very explicit that a commissioned minister can do everything but marry and bury. The IRS is dragging its feet in one case and has denied a campus minister in the other case on their exemption.
It's a tougher call because usually what the test is, do they serve the functions of a minister, which is usually you can marry and bury and you're ordained. I would say if they're not ordained, it's going to be very difficult. And when they're ordained, you're going to have no problem. But until they're ordained, I think it's going to be very difficult in the sense of a housing exemption or any of that. That's given as what they call the grace of government. Now, I think you've got to have churches tax exempt because you run into all kind of church-state separation issues. But when it comes to individual ministers, it's a different situation.
Learn more about our work and receive timely updates on the most critical issues facing our country today by visiting us at aclj.org. That's aclj.org.
It is 8:36 in our Guardian Security Services Traffic Center. Let's get the latest. In for Jim, here's David Morrison.
Thanks very much, Mike. Still following a problem on the eastbound Indiana Toll Road. It's backed up from about I-94 over to the Porter-Lake County line, where all lanes are shut down up until the Portage Toll Plaza because of an earlier truck fire that's right there. Traffic is being diverted off at Lake Station. Westbound is back open and seems to be moving well. Outbound on the Edens, 32 out to Lake Cook Road. Inbound is fine. The Kennedy inbound, 45 from O'Hare. Outbound's 50 back out to the airport. Inbound Eisenhower, an hour 7 from Thorndale. Outbound still an hour back out to the Thorndale. Inbound to the Stevenson, it's an hour 5 from 355. Outbound's 41. Dan Ryan inbound 95th to downtown at 25 minutes. Lakeshore Drive southbound still hitting the brakes between Belmont and Fullerton, and then both sides are slow through downtown. Tri-State northbound heavy 75th to 31st and Roosevelt to the Grand Avenue curve. 90 eastbound on the brakes from Higgins to Barrington and Elmhurst to Lee. Westbound from the Devon Toll Plaza out to Toohey. Eastbound Reagan, some tire debris in the right lane at Midwest. Your delays begin at Findlay. Northbound 355 from 75th to the Reagan Tollway and the Army Trail Toll Plaza to 290. Southbound 53 tight ran to Kirchhoff. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm David Morrison on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the AirComfort.com Weather Center. Providing the right climate for business since 1935. Partly sunny, hot and humid today, a high near 90. Currently 78. Next news coming up at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Secure Retirement Radio with Raj Shah. Sunday mornings at 7, right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Hey, Joe Walsh here. Listen to Freedom any time of any day. Go to walshfreedom.com/podcast. Freedom returns at 5.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. He was a U.S. Navy SEAL. He was a CIA asset. He was the founder and CEO of the rather infamous private security company, private military corporation, PMC. He is Eric Prince. the company, of course, called Blackwater. Now he's the executive director and chairman of a private equity fund called Frontier Services Group, and he joins us now. Erik Prince, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Good morning.
Good morning. And so I want to kind of talk about a couple of stories that have been in the news. One you have opined on that I've seen, and one you have not yet that I have seen, but perhaps you will hear. The first is the execution of the Iranian nuclear scientist and the revelation that there was communication between Hillary Clinton and her staff about that Iranian nuclear scientist who was an asset of the U.S. intelligence providing us information about the Iranian nuclear program. And you believe, as I understand it, that Hillary Clinton's kind of carelessness, if I want to borrow a Comeyism, with her private server may have led to this U.S. asset, this Iranian nuclear scientist's death.
Yes. You know, this guy, what they call is a walk-in, and the U.S. really botched his defection. They never got his family out. And he did provide a lot of valuable information on the Iranian nuclear efforts in the United States, but the U.S., without his family here, he got homesick, and he was kind of left on his own. And they started calling home, and of course, the Iranians detected that and then leveraged his family very hard against him. If he talks about emotional trauma while he was here in the States, I'm sure it's because he was imagining what the Iranians were doing to his family while he was gone. And it was a negotiated return, and he was received a hero's welcome back in Iran because he claimed that he'd been an abductee of the United States, and that was the story he was going under. But 9 days before he even returned to Iran, there was emails, open emails from Hillary's homebrew server, back and forth talking about their friend, the defector, going back to Iran, and he was. He was tried and imprisoned, never sentenced to death after he got back to Iran eventually. But then when these additional emails were just released in the last week, he was executed suddenly just within the last couple of weeks again. So it certainly points to carelessness in communication. If you're talking about a defector who's laid his life on the line for America, provide assistance and secrets on a sensitive program, and then you're carelessly talking about him in an open email in a very non-secure environment, any CI professional would say, yeah, that certainly could have contributed to his death.
Did the CIA, do we know that he was on trial, or was it a secret trial?
Excuse me?
Was his trial, was it well known or a public trial for this?
In Iran.
In Iran.
Well, they certainly knew he went missing. He was a very sensitive guy there. But when he started calling back, he claimed that he'd been abducted, he'd been taken to the United States against his will, and exactly what the Iranians, what the IRGC knew, I don't know. I'm sure they suspected him of defecting, and they certainly leveraged his family to make sure they got him home.
So this is another curious case, and it again involves the lack of security or hacking and so forth, because it involves WikiLeaks and their ability to get information that nobody else seems to get through hackers and informants and the like, and distribute it, including on Hillary emails. So the death of a 27-year-old Democrat staffer named Seth Rich in D.C. last month, he was murdered, and it was claimed that it was some kind of robbery, but no items of his were taken, no personal possessions. And then on Dutch television, Julian Assange, the founder of WikiLeaks, essentially suggested that Seth Rich was an informant for WikiLeaks on those DNC emails that were distributed by WikiLeaks, and that he's an example of the kind of risk that informants for WikiLeaks run. He offered a $20,000 reward for information on the murder of this DNC staffer. And I wonder what you think about that and how these things operate as somebody kind of with the intelligence background you have. Is that potentially a misdirection play? Is there real smoke here in terms of foul play because he was somebody providing information to WikiLeaks? What's your sense of that story?
Look, Washington, D.C. is not the safest city around, but it's not just his murder, but there's two other DNC-connected staff have died very mysteriously within the last few weeks. So there's a lot of smoke here. I don't know that there's fire, but generally robbers don't commit murder to rob someone and then not take anything, particularly shooting them in the back. So the whole thing really smells. I would like to see Congress ask the FBI who, if anyone, was talking to or meeting with that guy who was murdered, and figure out what they were investigating.
Well, Eric, what are the other two cases?
If he was indeed on his way to talk to the FBI, that is explosive information.
Yeah, that's true. But what are the other two DNC cases that you just mentioned?
There was another guy who died mysteriously with a crushed throat in his bathroom, and another robbery, supposed shooting victim, when I don't think anything was stolen.
Right. Another question, kind of switching to the other side of the presidential contest for a minute. Your reaction to that open letter that was signed by some 46, mostly former Bush administration officials from intelligence and defense, suggesting that Donald Trump does not have the temperament or understanding of our international interest to be commander-in-chief?
Well, I wholeheartedly disagree with that letter, and I disagree with most of the individuals that signed that letter. And if they want to claim great success and legitimacy for the last 7 years of the Bush administration and their foreign policy success, I don't think they have a lot to be proud of. So I think it goes to what Mr. Trump talks about with the embrace of the establishment and the unwillingness to change. I mean, the fact is we've spent, as a country, almost $9 trillion on defense since 9/11, and things have gotten worse, not better.
Well, so this is interesting because when you ran Blackwater, which I think you sold in 2010, but you were a vendor to the federal government providing security services. This was during the Bush administration. I wonder if you could give us a peek into how it was to interact with the Bush administration and provide the services you did in support of military during that time period.
I would say the most effective response the U.S. had to terrorism was right after 9/11. For about the first year, the CIA had the lead and did a lot to run down al-Qaeda globally and to really push back the Taliban very hard in Afghanistan. The more DOD got involved, the more conventional the fight became, the more expensive things became, and the slower and more fleeting was progress. And I think fighting a non-state actor requires a robust intelligence service and approach to it, not uniformed, certainly not conventional forces of the DOD, because they've really, they spooled up the cost. Look in Afghanistan now. As a country, we're spending $44 billion this year in Afghanistan. Only $4 billion of that goes to actually supporting the Afghan security forces. The rest of it is all consumed by the 10,000 or so U.S. troops that are there. So we're spending ourselves into a hole, doing things in not a very clever and certainly not a very effective manner.
And we're talking to Eric Prince. He's now the chairman of Frontier Services Group. He previously founded and was CEO of Blackwater, which was a PMC, private military corporation. He's a Navy SEAL, former CIA asset. What's your assessment of the intelligence community and its how it operates today, as well as military readiness in connection with using actionable intelligence in a military context? Kind of what advice would you have for the incoming president based on what you know about those two sectors of our national security?
Well, when you have the director of Central Intelligence on a recent interview in NPR stating that the CIA doesn't steal secrets, you have a very broken culture at the CIA. The active intelligence is an act of it's espionage, it's theft. You're convincing someone to commit treason in their own country or sell out their friends to sell you secrets. If you don't have that attitude of mission effectiveness, then you're in the wrong business. And so for him to say the CIA doesn't steal secrets is wrong, and I think that's that flows down to the rest of the culture. I would look. We spend a lot on defense already, and I think It's added a lot of bad habits and a lot of overspending in areas. Anytime you throw cash at an organization, which has been done certainly the last 16 years, you can, like I said, you create a lot of bad habits. So there's certainly places to improve readiness by making it more competitive. I think what Eisenhower warned about, an industrial military complex, is very much real. And those 50 so-called experts that signed the letter to Mr. Trump represent, case in point, that military-industrial complex and a very big government paradigm that has proven to be not very effective at eradicating the kind of terrorism threat we have. The fact is, there's very, very few wars like World War II or Korea, a big conventional war. Most conflicts throughout human history are small brushfire wars, and knowing how to fight them quickly, efficiently, with a small footprint, with minimum disruption to the civilian populace is essential. And big military forces that are designed to take on a Soviet army facing off across Europe is not very good at basically fighting, guys, 4 terrorists driving around in a pickup truck. It's a different paradigm, best left to an intelligence service and a smaller footprint, not a big plotting military.
All right. He is Erik Prince. He's the executive director and chairman of Frontier Services Group, a private equity concern. Erik Prince, thanks for joining us. Good to speak with you.
Thanks for having me. You bet.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Coming up, why one gopher is no longer on a golf course in upstate New York. But first, here's your forecast today. Plenty of sunshine, hot and humid, a high near 90 degrees. Travel times. Here's David Morrison in for Jim Telemonte.
Eastbound on the Indiana Toll Road still closed from the Porter Lake County line to the Portage Toll Plaza. Stop traffic begins at I-94. This is all because of an earlier truck fire at the toll plaza, but all the flames have been extinguished. Eden's outbound 40 minutes out to Lake Cook Road. Inbound is fine. The Kennedy inbound is 50 minutes from O'Hare. The express lane's only a little bit better than the locals right now. The outbound Kennedy 43 minutes back out to the airport. Inbound on the Eisenhower, it's an hour 7 from Thorndale. Back out is 51 minutes. Stevenson inbound an hour from 355 to Lakeshore Drive. Outbound is 40 minutes. Dan Ryan inbound 95th to downtown at 25 minutes. Lakeshore Drive southbound heavy Belmont to Fullerton and 18th to the Stevenson. Northbound's jammed through Grant Park. Eastbound of the Reagan Tollway a little bit tight between Finley and Midwest Road. Northbound 355 still heavy 75th to the Reagan, and then from the Army Trail Toll Plaza up to 290. Southbound 53 is a little bit jammed from Rand down to Kirchhoff. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm David Morrison on AM 560 The Answer.
On AM 560 The Answer, we talk about the important issues that affect your world. Things like the economy, education, and foreign policy. There's always so much going on in the news that we don't always have the time to focus in and talk about the big ideas behind the important issues. Enter Upstream Ideas online at upstream-ideas.com. Upstream Ideas, in partnership with the Illinois Policy Institute, provides the kind of information that informs the policy discussions happening here on AM 560. At Upstream Ideas, you'll broaden the debate, move beyond partisan assumptions, and challenge accepted beliefs. Upstream Ideas goes against the current and thinks upstream. Go online now at upstream-ideas.com. That's upstream-ideas.com. You'll be armed with new information and fresh perspectives to help encourage you to make the state of Illinois and the United States of America a bit freer, a bit more just, and a bit more civilized. Upstream-ideas.com.
I have actually been on Balance of Nature for a year now. I have MS, and I recently had an MRI. This is the first year that I've had a stable MRI, so I'm thrilled. When I have an MRI with MS, usually there are glowing spots that come through, which is damage on the nerves in my brain and my spinal cord, and when they're glowing, it means they're active. And then my last MRI, they pulled it up, and I honestly couldn't believe that it was my MRI. There was nothing glowing. And in fact, the dark spots were shrinking. They were healing. And the doctor actually said to me, I think we're in remission. I was so happy. I had no idea that that could be my reality.
Call now to find out how to get your free month's supply of Balance of Nature. Call 800-2468-751. That's 800-2468-751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com.
Use promo code CHICAGO.
If you're serious about selling your home, now's the time. Supply is low, and it's a great seller's market in many Chicagoland neighborhoods. Now, I've done the research, and along with my Salem radio colleagues, Dennis Prager and Michael Medved, we all recommend that you call Saul. Saul Z and the Z team are so good that if they don't sell your home in 59 days, they'll sell it for free, guaranteed. Saul is ranked 106th out of 1.2 million agents by the Wall Street Journal. His proven marketing system is so effective that he sells on average a home every single day, attracting multiple full-price offers. Now, that demand helps sell your home fast at the highest price. It's a no-brainer. If I was selling a home in Chicagoland, I'd definitely call Saul. 888-346-0666 or call Saul, SAUL.net. Call Saul.net or 888-346-0666. You'd better call Saul.
AM 560, The Answer.
Okay, I'm trying to process Blago and not be sad also, too, about this gopher. This well-known gopher in an upstate New York golf course was killed, viciously run down by two upstate New York police officers who used their golf cart, drove on the tee boxes and onto the greens trying to kill this gopher. And
they
eventually
were told by the greenskeeper to kill all the gophers.
I want you to kill every gopher on the course.
Check me if I'm wrong, Sandy, but if I kill all the golfers, they're going to lock me up and throw away the key.
Gophers! You great kid, not golfers! The little brown furry rodents!
We can do that.
Aye.
We don't even have to have a reason.
So the two men used their cart to hunt him down, kill it. They're playing in a police union golf scramble, and they're now on desk duty while the incident is being investigated.
And the one guy said, I think I'm going to use a 7-iron, and the other guy said, I think you're going to need more club. Carl Spackler, one of the best characters in the history of movies. Thank you so much, Bill Murray.
You've made the switch, and it feels so good. You've switched to Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
This is a special notice to all U.S. taxpayers. If you owe the IRS or state back taxes and cannot afford to pay them back, there's good news. Due to the financial hardship many are facing in today's economy, the IRS has made it easier to settle delinquent tax problems through a federal program called the Fresh Start Initiative. Qualifying for this program will resolve your tax problem, end all collections, and possibly reduce your back taxes by up to 90%. If you are facing wage garnishments, liens, bank levies, audits, or payroll taxes, it's not too late. Your circumstances may qualify you for this special program, protecting your savings and your assets. If you owe the IRS or state back taxes and cannot afford to pay them back, there's no need to worry anymore. Call the hotline at Victory Tax Solutions to see if you qualify and potentially save thousands. For this free information, call 800-352-4757. 800-352-4757. That's 800-352-4757.
Hey, there's a great reason why every AM 560 host endorses this product, because it's the best. Even the National Sleep Foundation agrees that Made in America MyPillow is in a class by itself because they made it their official pillow. Now, if you still haven't bought one, you should. You'll sleep better, and it's good for your health. It's washable to remove that dead skin, dirt, skin oils, dust mites that cause allergies, acne, and asthma. You really deserve a washable MyPillow. It comes with a 10-year warranty, and it's an excellent health investment. So here's what you do. Go to MyPillow.com, type Amy, A-M-Y, in that promo code so I can get some credit. And you'll get 2 MyPillows for the price of one. Give one as a gift. Keep the other for yourself, or just use both, but do it now. 800-489-0201 or online at MyPillow.com. Promo code Amy.
No matter what type of business you're in, having a strong business banking partnership can help your bottom line. I'm Jeff Boundy, president of Cornerstone National Bank and Trust Company. We strongly believe that trust, service, and relationship are the cornerstone of a successful business banking partnership. Customers like Robert Weissite of Robert C. Weissite Company agree.
I appreciate the depth of experience my Cornerstone banker brings to the table. Last June, we located a building we wanted to buy for expansion. My Cornerstone banker walked me through everything I could expect to face in advance, from the letter of intent all the way through the day of closing. It went very smooth and predictably and with low stress. He had been through this type of transaction many times, and his years of experience helped me make my purchasing experience predictable, efficient, and successful.
Thanks, Bob. Please visit cornerstonenb.com, or I invite you to give me a call at 847-654-3000 to explore a business banking partnership.
Equal Opportunity Lender. Member FDIC.
Join me, Dan Proft, for the 22nd annual Chris Lausen Porky Picnic happening Saturday, August 20th. There's plenty of good food and lots of fun for the whole family, including an indoor trackless train and raffles. The theme this year is Law Enforcement Officer Appreciation, and law enforcement officers can attend for free, so please RSVP in advance. For more information and to purchase tickets, visit 560theanswer.com, search the keyword Porky.
Thanks so much for making this part of your morning. I'll be sure to check out that Porky Picnic.
Porky!
We'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. Now let's go into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
Amy and Dan, Delta facing more delays. Flyers finding out about more cancellations and more headaches today as the Atlanta-based airline struggles with computers